Take Nick, you get her too.
You guys
Best
ready?
thing ever,
I'm sure. All right,
just like you. Not that big a difference.
let's call the meeting of July 14th, 2022 to order. Jesse, roll call, please.
Mayor Siciliano?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Napoli?
Here.
Councilmember Char?
Here.
Donlin? Here. Fisher?
Here. Okay, everybody, just so you know, all of our meetings, workshop meetings, and council meetings are taped and archived, so be careful what you say. It's going to be taped.
Good meeting. That's
We will use it against you in the court of law. But just so you know that, also, the notice
cashed out,
requirement
good
for the
stuff.
Upton Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press Coaster, posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 9th, 2021. Close enough. Okay. We have some folks here, guests. Dave?
Yes.
Okay. Jen, what do you got?
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Super.
Okay.
I am here with Tara Sargent, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself. I'm just going to give you a minute or two spiel as to why I'm here and hand you some stuff out. As you know, you guys allow for one manufacturing cannabis license within the township, and that's already been conditionally awarded to Illicit, and
Right.
it's in the area back by the ball fields. But they're vacant property, and they're going to have to go through the approval process and eventually build it out. We're talking about maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years before we see anything. Tara, who's local, who lives in Asbury Park, is interested in a much smaller site that requires no approvals other than some fit out on the interior at 3500 Sunset Avenue. I'm gonna pass a couple things out and let Tara answer the rest. That's just a map showing kind of where it is. It's near, it's very close to where you previously approved, and it is near Kane Brewing and back by the water tower. There's an existing building there. There's available site there now. It's about 2,500 square feet. So we're talking about a much smaller facility that really is, oh, hi there.
Hi,
Take my seat.
I will gladly. Thank
That, you got dressed up for me? That's so nice.
you. I didn't even know you were here. Otherwise, we would have gone even further.
All right. She's interested in the site and interested in moving in as quickly as possible. What Tara did, and I'll allow her to introduce, I'm just gonna hand it out, is prepare basically a presentation about who she is, who her company is, what she would do, and what the benefits could be to Ocean Township. As you know, you get 2% off the top of any gross sales. This would be a use that would have virtually no impact. It would go into existing space that would just be some other commercial user, only you wouldn't be getting the money off the top, obviously. What we would love to do is see about whether or not you'd consider expanding the number of manufacturing licenses to 2. And Dave and I had done some discussions, and I was gonna do a discussion with Marty if he called me back earlier, but call came in a little late, so I didn't pick it up. I'm just kidding. So, with Dave, and I think that one of the ways that you can differentiate this is that this is not a large space, this is not a new build. So if you want to limit it or differentiate it from the license that's already been issued, I think that there are built-in ways to do it, you know, such as the space has to be under 10,000 square feet. You have to be adaptively reusing an existing facility. There's a bunch of different things that you can differentiate it that would really justify doing this. And I think that we were lucky enough, Tara was lucky enough to find a location in the LI zone where it's permitted, but also where other similar type uses really are already as approved. And so let me hand this out and introduce you to Tara. Tara, I'll leave one for you, and you can just introduce yourself and kind of tell the council who you are and what you're doing. Just by way, this is the Mayor Siciliano, Councilman Chair, Councilman Dr. Councilman Dr. Donlin, Councilman Dr. Fisher, Township Engineer Greg Blash, Dave Brown, the Township Manager, Marty Arbus, very handsome, you can't see him under the mask. John Napolitani, who wants you to get to know him, you can call him Johnny Nap, and
Do it
Jesse
anyway.
Jesse Joseph's the Township Clerk, just so you know who the different players are.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much for having me and for taking some time out today. My name, as Jen said, is Tara Sargenti. I have been working in the legal New Jersey cannabis industry for 13 years. I've opened the first woman-owned business in the state. I've helped run our state's largest and first cannabis trade organization, the New Jersey Cannabis Business Association, which was kind of the cannabis chamber of commerce. I've had sales in 2,000 stores nationally, including the US, Canada, and Australia, with my previous company, Blazing Bakery, who I would do a licensing deal with the current facility that I'm looking to open in Ocean. As Jen said, I am a Asbury Park resident, so this is my backyard, and this will be my full-time job. Once the facility opens, I want to give back to my community. I mean, that is baked right into my application, is to either put on whatever charitable works, donations, support. I already work with Fulfill Food Bank over in Neptune, and I definitely want to start integrating myself to the community if you'll allow it. Now, I am located near Illicit, who you've supported, and that's fantastic. But this is a much different operation. We're talking a small woman-owned business that will, despite its size and very small footprint, be able to do probably first year 2 million and then go upward from there. The difference when you have a giant cultivation, you have to have all those plants in there, and that takes a lot of square footage. When you're manufacturing, you're making products this big, and you can do pallets of them in a very small space, practically windowless building with a couple parking spots. No one even knows it's there. And like they said, 2% of that is gonna go right back into the town, aside from what other, initiatives I can start. So I really have worked long and hard. I co-authored our medical marijuana legislation, and I was a contributing author to our adult use legislation, which is, the result of this. So I've been down Trenton, lobbying, getting this done for the state, and I really have worked hard. This is my life's work, and I would love for Ocean to be the home of my business, and right in my backyard here would be ideal.
So you're like a micro manufacturer.
Yeah, so I
Are
have...
there restrictions on the size of area you can have?
Yes, so there's 2,500 square feet. The property on Sunset is 2,250, so it's within the limits. I am conditionally approved for a micro license. I was in the first 30 applications in the state that were approved. I'm going to ask the commission if I can expand to a full license, not because I want to expand in size, I want to keep that small footprint, but simply because some of the limitations on volume and transfer and just things that might affect me down the road.
When you say full license, what do you mean?
Well, if I can just jump in, because I want to put it in layman's terms, because I think you're used to doing it in the context of the statute. Let me do it in layman's terms.
Dumb it down, John.
Okay, so there are restrictions in a micro business that have to do with how much product you can create and sell, and how much money you can make, and things of that nature that would be very limiting, that aren't necessary or don't necessarily help the Township of Ocean. So when she says convert it to a full license, right now she's conditionally approved with the micro license, just needing to, and would get the full micro license once she got municipal support and identified a location. What she's hoping to do is, if we can get support for this location, is ask them not to convert it to a full micro license, but basically convert it to just a full license, which would allow her to alleviate some of those controls that the state puts in. But, and I think you would at least at this point be happy, because this is your location, keeping the size limitation, if that was something that the town wanted to do, meaning if the town said we're gonna issue another license, it's not a micro license, it's a regular manufacturing license, but it can only be used by someone under 5,000 square feet. So it's not the size of the facility. We have no interest in expanding the facility, no interest in getting bigger. We just wanna be able to produce more, which ultimately will bring more money into the
Well, when
township.
you say full, you're still talking...
Just manufacturing.
Manufacturing, not talking retail.
No. Total manufacturing, no cultivating, no, just full manufacturing. So the only limitation that really works best for us is you limit the size of the facility. But we want the freedom to have a bigger license with the state so we can make more money. That was that as far as lay terms go.
Yeah, that's it. I always tell people always think dispensary. I say, that's a liquor store. I don't want a liquor store, I want to be Jack Daniels. So that's what I'm trying to do is,
Me too.
What? Me too, right?
No, she doesn't mean drink it, Chris.
No, me neither, I want to produce it.
But yeah, no, so I'm a product manufacturer and I want to be in all the dispensaries in the state, but I want my production facility here.
And I think, and listen, I know you took a lot of heat politically, you know, when the cannabis came in. I'm surprised, quite honestly. I think it was a great move, and I think it was well done. But putting all of that aside, this can be marketed, not marketed at all, meaning we have no interest in, you know, what, we don't make our business by marketing to the general public. But it could be that, you know, under the commission, women-owned businesses, minority businesses, they're given preferential treatment, they're given special treatments, it's encouraged. You brought in one of the biggest manufacturers who is not local to the state, someone who's, you know, a national, you know, and that's great, but at the same time, I think it says a lot that you're not just helping these big companies, you're helping the little person who lives right here and wants to be involved. And I think that, obviously, you're not gonna do it yet. When you read the deck and you see how much Tara has done in the industry, I think that the day will come where, when everybody realizes it's no big deal to have these facilities here and the heat is gone, to be able to tout that you have Tara here also, who chose Ocean as her home despite all her options throughout the state. So again, that we leave up to you as to what you want to do or not do, but I think that you have the added benefit of having a woman-owned business, a local person, and, you know, someone who has been so instrumental in the cannabis development in New Jersey. So it's just something to think about. Any questions?
Yeah, so gross roughly 2 million the first year. What are you looking at between 3 and 5 years, roughly?
I'd like to get to 5 million.
Okay, so
Yeah.
looking at a little more than double.
Yeah,
All right.
so slow but steady growth. It really will depend on as dispensaries are opening. Right now, we only have 19 dispensaries in New Jersey.
Right.
We've just issued a lot of licenses, so I can only, you know, sell to as many dispensaries as there are. So as the program expands, we're gonna see rapid expansion for manufacturers as well. And the state is also issuing new product regulations in August that will allow me to produce a wider variety of products. As I have more SKUs, I'll be able to, you know, obviously raise revenue.
And how many employees are we looking at?
Less than 10.
Less than 10?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small operation, it's a small space, it's mostly automated equipment that will just be running machines, pushing buttons, and as I've stayed in there, most manufacturers use butane, which can be explosive, they use
Right.
these chemicals. I'm using all natural, just heat and pressure to get the cannabis out. It's the most healthy, natural way, safest way to do it. So, I mean, really, it's a great facility that's gonna be an asset with almost no downside.
And if you were to expand, going from the manufacturing, I believe it's within, what, 2-3 years? That when you can expand it?
So the tier that I'm applying for, the micro caps at 2,500, which is what I was gonna do.
Right.
But as Jen said, it has other financial restrictions that I don't wanna be subject to, so I
Right.
would like to bring in as much as possible.
Is that what this is right now? You're limited to the amount that you can produce monetarily?
Well, there's, you're only allowed 1,000 pounds a month of cannabis.
Right.
So if you only have so much raw ingredient, you can only sell so much.
Right,
But-
so where does this fall in? That I knew, but where does it fall in the manufacturing? Where's your limitations on that as to what you can produce as a manufacturer?
Well, when you're extracting, you're getting perhaps a 10% yield, so then you're having 100 pounds of base product, which is only gonna translate to so many finished products.
Okay,
But if I don't do a technical micro and I just do a small business,
right,
I'm not subject to those. It still has to be under 10,000 feet, which is the tier I'm applying for.
right, so, and you're clearly within that, so,
It's never gonna be a giant facility like the one near it.
and if you did get the expansion, what could your potential gross be for the facility? Would it still be?
I had a case study which I can send to you. There was a company called Plus Edibles out in California, and within 2 years they were at 20 million, and 2 years later they went public.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
What do you guys do with all the marijuana after you extract it?
So
Samples.
there's waste disposal programs. So, depending on what kind of extraction you do, if it was ethanol, you could pretty much just douse it with water. If it's butane, you need to use a more sophisticated company. Mine has no solvent, so it's just being crushed. So whatever the state regulation, there'll be waste disposal companies. And actually, I have full SOPs on that. If you want, I can send them along for your review.
Just interested. Because you said it takes, what, how many pounds to make one product?
It's about a 10% yield, yeah.
It's a lot of extra. It's 90%. Wonder what that does, what you could do with that stuff.
Well, nothing, because all the ingredients are out of it. Actually, you can make hempcrete. They do use the waste in fibers, insulation, things like that. Yeah, plastics, so.
Any odor issues with manufacturing at this scale, or is it more?
No, so, and we would be using multiple odor mitigation techniques, carbon filters, as well as pressurizing the room. So really these facilities, the biggest odor offenders are cultivation, because you have thousands of plants. You know, I'm gonna be receiving bales, and they're gonna go in a storage vault, which is sealed, so it's a room inside a room, and that's pretty much it. And then the processing is minimal, so.
Is it quite possible you could be buying product from the guy who's going to be producing it on Sunset Avenue? Is that
Yes.
one of your sources of supply potentially?
Yeah, I could, and I have many, as I've developed relationships throughout the years, 13 years here. And I've actually been the consultant on sick applicants who I've had approved so far this year. So I have many supply chain channels and Alyssa could definitely be one of them.
So I have another question. So how come going for this type of license versus going for something broader and larger? Just asking.
Well, for cultivation, I don't want it. I do want to stay positive. I don't want to talk ill of cultivation, but I don't believe this is the state for it. It's cold here, and there's places where rain and sunshine are free. And just having been in the industry as long as I have, I don't see it as a long-term viable solution when this eventually goes to interstate trade and eventually international. So the overhead, the cost of land in New Jersey is very expensive. I don't feel it's a viable long-term solution where if you look at analysts, what they're putting out right now, manufacturing is the one area as cannabis stocks are crashing and flower is a commodity, it's very volatile. Products with inflation are actually the only thing going up while the rest of the cannabis sector is kind of struggling. So.
Another issue, because I know there've been a lot of, concern about like products being found by children and, and ingested inappropriately. How do you label your products, especially, do you do like gummies or what is your
gummies are in
product?
here.
The gum-
Yeah, so the
So, like-
gummies, right now it's
And
approved.
chocolate bars.
So do you have any like special labeling to like prevent that?
So I want there to be chocolate bars. Right now, the only thing that is approved are capsules, tablets, syrups, tinctures, and lozenges. So the gummies are technically soft lozenges.
Oh, okay.
It's, them being a little creative with the word there. But I would have eventually,
Let's see.
that's a chocolate bar.
Oh, okay, so they
Yeah.
don't have them?
No, that's just forward thinking.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have a lot of people who I know are lobbying for the August regs who should get the.
You want it more like the
there.
chunky style, like with raisins and nuts, or?
Peanuts, no peanuts.
Whatever you want, I'll make
If
you,
you're
I'll
allergic
name it
to
after
peanuts,
you.
you gotta watch out.
So, I'm sorry, your question was
Labeling
about
children.
children. Yeah, so, within our law is that it can only have a 1-inch logo. It has to be an opaque package, single color. There are multiple warnings. It has to have child safety packaging, and not just child safety, but resealable child safety, so it remains unopenable. And you can't see it. The gummies cannot be shaped in any kind of colorful way. So there's a lot of child safety put right in there that I couldn't make it if I wanted to.
Mhm.
Are you involved at all in any retail establishments?
I don't have any ownership in. I've been the consultant on many, so I have LOIs in place with many of the current licensees who have not opened their doors yet, but when they do, I've been promised some shelf space, so I immediately will be able to sell product, which is good. I'll be quick to market. And I'm not against doing a dispensary, but that's not my priority. This is in another town, not my.
You trying to get any other facilities in any other different towns? locally?
No, so you're only allowed to have one license, and this is what I've been working for my whole life, is this manufacturing facility. I'm not interested in retail, I'm not interested in cultivation. If I was part of a retail, it would probably be an applicant who offered me some equity, something like that, but this is my company, this is my business.
So you're just looking in Ocean Township this time?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So the major issue is whether the council decides they want to go from 1 to 2 facilities. The pluses that you've expressed are woman-owned, small, and all those things, so
Right, so
they have to look at it and consider, and that's the.
Yeah, and either Dave or Marty, well, you can share the materials that you said you can provide, and if there's any questions from the council members, just ask us, we'll send you the information.
Absolutely.
So you said you did not want the waste SOPs, I believe you said you were fine with that, was
I just-
there?
I just wanted the question answered, I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
was there something I was supposed to,
No, you answered the
I
questions,
answered
I don't need to,
everything.
okay.
Well, Jen has my email if anyone does want anything, or happy to take a phone call, explain
Great.
anything anyone likes. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Tom.
Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thanks for coming. Appreciate it.
Good to see everybody.
Yeah, see you too.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Hopefully, the next section of the meeting will be as
You
happy and
never know what we're getting.
They're all good. They're all good. All right, let me see where we're at now.
Yeah, I guess.
Ed, are you here as a guest or
Yeah, I'm just
observer?
listening.
Oh,
I thought other people were gonna be here, and I was gonna listen to them, but
well,
I think you're early. I'll be back.
well, the main meeting's at 7, maybe some people should come in.
Yeah.
We'll talk anyway.
I missed you all, I haven't seen you all in a while.
Where is she? Right. All right. Various projects, I guess. Right.
Move to the engineer?
First item on my list is Kepwell. Subdivision plan is done, got over to Marty with the applications. We're looking to try to get on the August meeting for that. The only thing that I'm lacking, I've been talking to Kelly about it, is her design team is not done with the playground layout. So she hasn't given me that footprint, so we'll probably end up just putting a note on the plan. This is a future location for a playground, and we'll work it out when we own the property. Okay, but we're trying to get on the August meeting. I don't know if we'll make it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I put a call into Ron Kirk to find out when the August meeting is, and it's not scheduled yet, so we're trying to find out when that is. You know, understand there has to, notices have to go out and a lot of stuff. In fact, I'll have a conversation with Jen about that, so they're sort of joint applicants.
Okay, second item on my list is the Joe Play Park Walking Trails Phase 2. We received bids yesterday. We were kind of right on budget. I think we estimated $85,000, came in at $82,000. So we'll be having that'll be on your next agenda to award that in August, and we'll get going on that probably in September. Next item is the pond dredging projects. Sediment results were in. We talked about that last month. I've got the total report now. I'll probably just send it to Dave on the disk, it's 700 pages.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been talking to the LSRP. He's very confident that we can reuse the soils at the Colonial Terrace, on Colonial Terrace, without any mixing. So that's a good thing. The sediment from the Snell's Pond is gonna require some kind of mixing with clean soil. And then he doesn't know if they'll allow us to move that to Colonial Terrace or not. That's what we're gonna be talking to the state in the next couple of weeks to try to figure that out. We'll have to go through some permitting for that.
To do with the
And then-
spoils.
Yeah, the third one is, he wants to retest Fireman's Pond because the statutes are different. So in the meantime, while we're talking to them about Snell's Pond, they'll retest Fireman's Pond just to make sure everything's the same.
What was the reason for retesting it?
The standards are slightly different, the way the way the labs do their processing.
okay.
So he just doesn't want to take the chance and have to try to figure out how to convert numbers. He just wants, it's easier just to run some new ones. He also, the nice thing is the sediment coming out of Snell's Pond is 80% sand. So that makes dewatering very nice because on those small lots over there, that's kind of a problem. And also, I don't know, one of the things I was gonna kind of, I guess, run by you guys, the lots that are over there are all by the state. And I know the state has kind of inquired with us if we would take those over. And I would say the only way we would want to take them over is maybe in this instant, if we could reuse that soil on those properties. Because the LSRP is telling me if you reuse the soil in the same drainage area, it's usually never a problem. I just didn't want to make a big mound on those properties, but if we get to three, I think there were 7 total, if we get to 3 or 4 on the same side of the road, and just maybe make like a little
berm.
in the middle of each of them, that may be our way to go. But I'll come back to you with that next week once we find out if we can, if we're gonna have trouble reusing it, having to soil mix it, if we can leave it on site and save us some money. Since it's dewatering so fast because it's all sand, we won't have the odor problems. Because the ones at Colonial Terrace is 50% silt clay and then 50%
They don't
sand.
decant that quickly.
Yeah, that's gonna have to sit for several months before it kind of dewaters, or spread it out, we'll end up spreading it because we have an area there. So that won't be a problem there either. And I know the one at the Fireman's Pond is over 80, it's like 90% sand. So we shouldn't have any problem with that with dewatering either, once we get to it. But, so the next month will be kind of critical to see what the DEP lets us do with snails. And I'll also be in the next month talking to Mosquito Control Commission about getting them to dredge that for free. If we can get to the Mosquito Control Commission, yeah, they dredge it, we use their permit, so that saves us a ton of money and effort there. It's kind of nice that we won't have to truck it anywhere, because that was really our major cost with firemen, is where do we get rid of it, how do we get rid of it. If we can keep these two on site, we would just have to spread it, which would be fairly cheap.
Yeah.
And then we have the big pile of topsoil out that we've got from when Asbury Park redid their field, and with that synthetic field, we took all that topsoil, and we have that piled up over at Cindy Lane. And that's what we'll use to cover these things when we're done. So we're in pretty good shape that way too. Okay, next item with the bike lanes, we're just waiting for the county resolution to lower that speed limit. I gotta put a call into them again and see what's taking them so long. Next item is 12 Carberry, we talked about that last month. Downstream of that head wall is not our property. I wrote a letter to the Hillel School owns, the Hillel owns that, so sent the letter seeing if I can get some kind of easement out of them to extend that riprap apron onto their property to stop all the erosion problem, kind of manicure a nice stream and make it a little safer for the neighborhood there. Okay, next one, the Roosevelt Avenue sidewalks, we talked about that. The only thing I wasn't sure, this is gonna be, the sidewalks were gonna be in the 22 program that you're gonna approve the bonding for later tonight. The only thing I wasn't sure was, we kind of talked about it, but I never knew if you gave a final decision and we're gonna assess those homeowners for that sidewalk on Roselle when it's outside of a road program. We put it in there as an assessment,
Yeah.
so those people will get a concrete.
Yeah, unless you get a safe school grant, which you won't over
Not
there.
over there, yeah.
I mean, there's a little minion there, and there is the Alon High School. I don't know if you can pitch it that way.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I don't know, that's a tough one. Plus our grants are all kind of tied up on the ones we're going for now for this year, well into next year.
I'm just saying, that would be my explanation to the folks that live there. We
Yeah.
can't get a grant. Our next thing is that we assess.
Right. And that is what happened, that's the only time sidewalks are not assessed homeowners is when it comes to a grant, with our transportation trust fund things. Okay, so that answers that. The next item on my list is Deal Manor Estates, that's the Martelli project. As you heard last month, everything went really well, even according to Mr. Lenetsky. The landscaping went in yesterday, so that item is all taken care of. I think everybody's happy with that. There's only one thing remaining, and that was the as-built startup meeting we're gonna have. And we got a letter from, I guess, the homeowners association's attorney listing all the things that were kind of supposed to be there. It's kind of the first step to make sure what is there and what isn't there. So we're gonna try to have that meeting in the next month or next week or two. So next month I will be able to hopefully tell you we're done with that project, and that one we can close out.
Yay!
Yeah,
That would be noted here.
Okay, next item is 1515 Logan. Just to give you an update on the status of that, we had the wetlands delineated out there. The stream corridors, we believe, are all state open waters. The wetlands expert was kind of saying they may try to argue a little bit of wetlands there, which puts a little bit of, it would put a 50-foot buffer on them. But we're gonna argue the top of stream is state open waters. So we should be hopefully successful in that. Even if we are, the one stream on the one swale on the southerly side of the project really won't impact us that much with a 50-foot buffer, because those lots are like 240 feet deep.
They're deep.
Just because of the shape of the property, they're deep lots on both sides. So we should be okay with that. Next one was the community pool. Just to let you know, last time we spoke about striping the parking lot, that was actually done before the 28th, before everything got going there. So that guy did a nice job for us. And then the next item on the list is a company called Ocean Wind 2. I think I spelled it right.
Yeah.
Yep.
They came in and gave Dave and I a presentation a couple days ago It's an offshore windmill project.
Oh, I met with them in,
Yes.
somebody, who was I with? Was
Matt
that you?
Anderson and,
Oh, Matt brought him in.
Yep,
Okay,
Hoboken Strategy.
right.
Yeah,
And
we-
then I sent them to you guys because they want to get on properties.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to meet with them, see what that was all about. But that's essentially what we met with them about. It's an offshore electric generation system. They're trying to get this underground cabling to Freehold. So they said they're either gonna come through Asbury Park or Ocean Township to get there. They're gonna try to go through all the right-of-ways out behind the curb and the right-of-way line, down all the streets. They will be doing a wetlands investigation in those right-of-ways. They've also talked to all the private property owners along their routes. They're gonna send me a copy of the route, but I didn't give it to me, so I'll give it to you
It's
next
south,
month.
the ocean route would be West Lincoln, South Lincoln, West Lincoln.
Yeah, it's in the, yeah, something like that. I really couldn't visualize it too well on the little screen they had, but, they will do that. This cable is gonna be 6 feet deep. Didn't think it was a real problem from our point of view, other than the utilities in the way, but that would really be their problem. The only concern I have is it's a private utility, so I think we kinda you may wanna have to think about, similar to the internet company that wants to start up, it's kind of a similar thing, I guess. What kind of tariff are they gonna pay to come through town? That's an easement you would have to give them in the right of way.
That and, that's not, I mean, that's their fifth choice of location too, coming. They have to come from Shore to Smithburg Road and Freehold. Ultimately, they like to take the state roads and county roads all the way there. That's the easiest for them, because then they can do it without all the municipal approval. If they had to go through here, they have points from south all the way up to Long Branch, whatever, different alternate routes. So they're going to every town, just getting the okay on, can we at least survey? And then we'll pick a route. They haven't picked one. This is a 2027, 2028 project before it even gets started, providing they get all the final approvals, I guess.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they're really looking for is there's no environmental constraints on the routes.
Right.
So they're going through the wetlands and all the environmentally sensitive areas. They may have endangered species problems. So that's true. They don't want to get tied into a route if there's a wetlands problem or a DEP problem. So that's really why they came to ask permission of the town to go through those right-of-ways to check that. I don't think we'd have a problem with that, just as long as they obviously notify all the other utilities they're going to be digging in the right-of-way.
Our route was pretty much through Oakhurst, straight to the highway.
Yeah.
And then from there, they go up.
Yeah, I think they go up Route 18 somehow, or.
Yeah, then they're done with us. They
Yeah,
don't even
probably
go on
go
the
to
west side.
537 and cross over that
Yeah,
way.
somehow they stay on the state road.
Yeah.
Why Freehold? Yeah, I was gonna say, so what's in Freehold?
That's
Didn't
where
ask-
there's
didn't
a
ask me that
main
question.
hub, if you will, that they have to tie into, because you can't generate these small distribution areas here of electricity could never handle what they're trying to do. There's a main distribution point there
Probably
that
a
can handle
substation there, yeah.
windmills, not just one, many.
Yeah.
Here, we would blow it out,
Yeah.
brownouts for everybody, but it's a windmill user.
Yeah.
So they know that, and that's why they're directing and trying to get to Smithburg Road. I don't know if anything's even built there, but that's where they're going.
That may be part of the project to build that substation there.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's kind of the only negative we have from an Ocean Township point of view is the fact that it's going through town and we have zero benefit from it.
right, no, it'd have to be a quid pro quo.
Right.
What's the impact fee that you can give us so we can, have a little something from it? And of course, every road gets paved
Yeah,
along the route.
that's right.
Sidewalks would be
And
nice.
sidewalks,
Yeah, and
we want to put it on
sidewalks,
the
yeah.
other side, because just in case I gotta dig it up, yeah. Okay, and the last item on my list is just to tell you that the last month you awarded the 21 program. Pre-construction meeting for that is next Friday. So we'll get that one going probably sometime late August, early September, and be ripping into that, get probably most of that done before winter.
Great.
And also, I guess one of the things I didn't put on my list, as you all probably know, Roosevelt Avenue was paved by the water
Yeah,
company.
somebody's
on my list.
calling.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple people called up and wanted to know, why didn't you pave all the way to the curb? They didn't realize it was the water company fixing their trench.
The one side.
They never go to the curb because they don't want to be accused of changing the drainage. So they always leave 1 foot adjacent to the curb to say that was the existing grade. If it floods, it's not our problem. But that's in our road program, so when we get to 22 going, we will be redoing Roosevelt Avenue from Monmouth all the way to the railroad tracks.
Any update on how the West Park Avenue project's going? I know they were
I believe they're supposed to be starting,
last week. I thought it was the 7th.
I thought it was the 17th.
Oh, 17th.
They got some signs up.
They've got stuff out there
They're
already.
milling, they're,
Are they mill? have
well,
they
they're
milled?
saying they're gonna mill, I think,
That's what they're
the
saying.
25th, maybe, the 20th, the
That's the end of
25th,
July.
potential milling.
They did
Yeah.
some
Must have pushed it back.
And they had it blocked off the one day last week
Yeah, they had one lane going each way up by, in the
by the school,
maybe
middle
western
school.
part there.
Yes, I think they're starting to get ready to pave. So
Right.
that'll probably be done sometime in August, which will be nice. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah. Okay, good,
That's
Greg.
all I had.
Thank
You know me, I
Uh-oh.
got some questions.
All right, good.
All right.
Ready,
Any,
Greg?
Yeah,
I actually color-coded them, so I don't have to waste time.
okay.
Any speed humps? Any updates on the speed humps? Any speed
I'm
humps?
waiting for, Mark Vasakis was out with COVID, so I'm waiting for them. They're trying to figure out their manpower, if they have the time and ability to put those in for us before I order them. So I'm just waiting for an answer from him to make sure he can put them in before I order them. I'll reach out to him again
Yes.
tomorrow.
You need to borrow?
That's Mark, West Park you just said, that's not you, hold on. You did that one already. Bike lane, Roller and Rose bike lane.
Roller and Rose. That's, you mean from Sunset to Roller Road, yeah.
Yeah.
That's part of the 22 program.
So there was you were looking for an application from the state?
Yeah, we filed an application, but we also put some allowance in there in
Okay.
case we don't get the application.
So we haven't heard, I don't know when the
No, we
application.
just filed them.
Okay.
They were just filed last week. We'll probably hear by September.
Bike lane on Monmouth, you told me. I'm gonna throw it out there, it's sort of you, but more Marty. Did we ever put the lien on the BJ's jug handle?
I think I sent a letter to the
To property
representative of BJ, not the BJ's, but the owner of the property,
Right, yeah.
saying, here's the bill, here's the amount, pay the bill. And then if that does not get paid or I get no response, then we put the lien on. But it's going to like be part of their tax bill.
Got it. Wicked Sidewalks, women's restrooms, follow up with Rob, contractor approved, follow up with Greg. I'm just looking back at the notes. The restrooms at the pool.
I didn't hear, but we didn't hear about getting a grant, so we didn't do anything with those. We'll probably file for another grant to get
Okay.
that done through the county or one or the other. We do have a couple things in front of it on the county list. We'll probably do the CDBG this year will probably be the Kepwell site to make that handicap accessible. So that women's club bathroom may get put off to the next year.
Got it. And then back to the Kepwell on the,
Playground?
thank you, playground. So we talked about that, sorry, sounds like,
Yeah, I think so.
that was
I
good.
stated it
Well,
on.
because that's what you're talking about. So last meeting, I believe we talked about increasing that from a handicap to an inclusive playground. I know Mike was talking to Kelly before you guys walked in, well, you were here, but I was asking Marty about the 15,000 that you were talking about. So any updates? I don't know if Mike has shared anything with you as to whether or not where Kelly is with that or where the company is migrating that from a handicap to an inclusive.
Oh, it's definitely being done.
Yeah, I think she
The
said
question
she
at hand
committed
now
to
was
throw a
how-
little more money at it.
Yeah.
Do that.
Okay, so that's what the 15th is.
Is that what the 15,000 is?
That's what.
Oh,
Yeah.
So the difference is
So
only
now it's- we gotta
15,000?
figure out
Well, no,
how-
it's an
do we
addition,
make the purchase?
it's added pieces
Or do they
to the
make the
playground.
purchase?
They're
It's
added.
interesting, because my impression when they were here, it was going to be like millions, like it was a
No,
significant
the
increase.
park is expensive. Kelly's funding through the Mile and
As
Terry
handicap,
Foundation.
but to make it
However,
inclusive, it was gonna be more.
there are additional pieces that they want added into it that I believe we've come up with 15,000 in funding for
That
those
will make it
pieces.
inclusive?
Correct, but
Okay.
then Marty has to, or somebody has to work on a letter or an agreement between the Mile and Terry Foundation and the township with
If-
that.
If we go that way, because we were here earlier having this discussion with professionals, and there seems to be possible issue where we should just outright buy them.
Okay.
If there's like a product that we could say, it's our playground.
Right.
We're gonna own it, so if there's like an item, we say, well, we'll pay for that item.
Whatever the easiest
But-
way is to do it.
But the bottom line is, the cost and expense is all for the equipment, not for the installation, which is being done by volunteers, right?
The cost of the
Say yes.
equipment is being fronted by the Mylan Terry Foundation. The volunteers are going to put the
Put
park in
everything in.
place.
Okay.
But whatever we opt to do with our pieces of equipment that we want to add to it, we need to make sure we have it purchased in place prior to, so that they can add these pieces into the park. So if that's the way to go, which is purchasing it ourselves without worrying about an agreement or whatever, then let's do it.
Yeah,
Because
I
we'll
mean,
be here
well,
forever going back and
We have to
forth.
know what we're talking about, but that, I was talking to Matt today to have him look into it, you know, what's the, is there an issue with us giving them money, whatever? And he suggested possibly doing it this way, or we both discussed possibly doing it this way. And so if there's an item, they could say, here, you purchase the, whatever, and that's, you know, $14,742, then that's what we do.
And Mike had the book and the pieces, and him and Kelly were going through it as to what they want to
Yeah.
add. So, I mean, I think the sooner that they pick those pieces out, Dave, can we do that purchase as, you know?
Yeah, I just need legal direction. Once I get that, we'll roll it
Okay.
out either way. Either way, we're gonna either do a purchase order to the foundation, or we're gonna do a purchase order to the vendor.
Sounds like the clean way to do it is, we buy it. But I believe that they're slated for September. Hopefully,
Start.
if this goes through.
Well, we won't even have closed on the property then.
We should have
It's
the
under-
closing by,
It's 15, we don't have to do any bidding on it.
Well, the
It's under
closing,
44,000, so,
John,
but it also
I mean, we're doing
is
this-
aggregate, so I gotta make sure Mike didn't buy anything
Okay.
recreation for the same type of product.
our August meeting is for a subdivision, right?
Well, we don't have a date yet, but the August meeting would be the subdivision. The question that we were discussing is whether the park will be shown on the plan, you know, and have detail, or whether it would just be shown, right now we're looking at it just as.
But I'm
a-
just saying, like any project, any buyer, anybody's buying a property, they're gonna get it subdivided, subject to the subdivision, right?
Yeah.
Or closing? Is that why we're
The
doing
closing
it?
is subject to, yes.
So, once we get approvals, let's say you get it on the first shot in August,
Yeah.
it's not codified for, we
Well, then you
gotta,
have 45 days after that. for,
so
you know,
would we
any-
close before, but there's potential objections, probably not, right?
Well, no, we would close after the 45 days after any approval. So if you have the meeting, and then the next meeting, they do the approval, and then you wait 45 days.
So you're, John, you're
You're
looking
talking
at,
all
So it's
October.
not,
November,
that
December.
doesn't sound like September.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like what?
No, I just want, I want you to hear it, John.
It's not gonna be in September.
You know, just because we had the planning board meeting, doesn't mean you can go in there and start working. We don't own it.
But we're not gonna own it until the closing. The closing's not gonna take place until we get an approval
Till all
in writing,
conditions are met.
and then a 45-day time period goes by
That's
that no
most
one
real
approves.
estate deals. When all the conditions are met, you close.
We should get approval first shot, Mayor, hopefully.
No, I know, I just,
we
we're
just have
anxious,
to worry.
we're all anxious to get it going.
The old
That's
expression,
Yeah, but we gotta.
there's
own
the
it first.
cart,
Yeah.
there's the horse. We
Yeah.
don't wanna put the cart before the horse. That's
No,
the
no.
thing.
Maybe safer to plan for like a spring build or something like that, if
we'll
that's
have
their,
to talk to her then.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
I'll talk
Early
to Mike.
spring.
Remember, they're a whole different foundation that's doing the volunteer work, so they
Right,
have all
plans.
their set
Probably part of the
projects.
project.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it just sounds like it's a safer bet to wait till spring. I mean, I don't know.
And this has to go in front of the planning board?
Board of Adjustment.
Board of Adjustment.
Because you are, in essence, expanding a pre-existing non-conforming use, which
Spring
is
would be good.
the business use that remains on the property.
Gotcha.
So that's having less real estate, so now that means an expansion.
so back to the question at hand, just to be clear. So Mike and Kelly are talking about the equipment, and they've come up with, at this point, just 15 to, I'm kind of repeating what Orange
Yes,
said.
that's what I'm hearing,
15 is,
15,000, yeah.
That's the additional.
Yeah.
all right, no, I'm with you.
To make it all inclusive.
What's that?
300,000.
Yeah,
Whatever the
they
number is.
already had it, ADA handicap accessible, but now this is gonna be all inclusive by adding this 15,000 to whatever equipment they're purchasing.
But the bottom line is, that ultimately, we'll make it work one way or the other in terms of the 15,000.
Yeah.
Like I said before, sometimes you just close your eyes and go, oh, please, let's go. And just hope it works.
Yeah, I'm
You
not
know,
worried about that. You guys will
It's
figure
it's
that
a
out.
good thing, it's not a bad thing, it's a good
Exactly.
thing,
Right.
and we're trying to do it the right way, but. we
It's unbelievable we have Kelly willing to do this.
Right.
To me, that's just
That's great.
Well, I'm kind of like on
Margie.
Margie's side, I'm thinking it would have been way more than 15,000
Yeah.
to get.
It is way more than 15.
No,
To
just
make it
inclusive.
inclusive.
Handicap to
Oh.
Because
inclusive.
during her presentation, she said we can't do inclusive
Right.
because it's exponentially more expensive, so I'm surprised that it's only 15,000.
They're adding something to it.
Well, let's make sure we're talking about the
I
same.
hope that's
Double check,
accurate.
but
I hope
that's-
that's accurate.
Make sure we're talking apples to apples.
Got it.
Haven't seen anything in writing, that's what I was
Okay.
told, so,
All good.
for the record,
Again,
We have no
I'm
plans in
thankful
mind.
that she's even doing it.
yeah. And more than likely,
How
the
it comes
vendor
out.
will probably be on state contract or, a cooperative or something anyway, so that will alleviate your concern, Mark. if you can
Well,
go
Dave,
that
you can
route.
find that out from,
That'll alleviate your concern about the thresholds or everything, if we can get on to a state contract with cooperatives. I'll dive in with Mike and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Any updates on 1001 Wickabeca?
Not yet, we have a meeting next Tuesday or Wednesday.
We moved it to Wednesday.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
next Wednesday.
So, you're
But
gonna
the-
present them with them doing a build out or something, is that what you're trying to do, or?
Yeah, I think when the RFIs are due?
Yeah, the Mike Patrico got RFIs from restaurant,
Mhm.
restaurateurs to see anybody who had any interest in going in there.
Right.
I know there was some back and forth there, he's gonna report those findings to us next Wednesday.
But we had like a monster cave interested or
I
something.
think they're due to
Well,
do
no,
this.
that's the idea, that nobody's
That's what
come to us, that's,
Okay, that's what we
I
like.
think the chief of police is
That's-
trying to
that's
make that a
plan
side
B.
business of his. He says it was his idea, but which is fine.
No, it's a
But
good
that's-
idea. It's a
yeah,
great idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's
No,
not-
it is. It's a
I
great
mean, whatever
idea.
we
like
do
it.
there, remember, off the golf course is seasonal,
Right.
but
Right.
that's year round.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's something to really pursue one way
So
or
we'll
the
take a
other.
peek, see what we got from the RFIs, and if not, we'll go with Plan B.
But yeah, we haven't started the Plan Bs, we haven't heard back on what the restaurant people have told him.
Okay.
But that is, we have discussed that and are looking into those options of converting it to a golf cave,
Yeah.
Into a golf.
Cave.
indoor golf.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I was just thinking that,
Marty likes it.
but I must have heard it, and that made me think
It's
of it.
like a Chuck E. Cheese for
Yeah.
for adults. For
Old,
adult golf.
old,
Well, kids too, anybody goes.
old overweight dudes.
And then just for the council education, every 2 weeks, we're meeting with all the projects, which would include 1001 Capeco, 1515 Logan, Kepwell. Now we're meeting, we've added now the turf field that we discussed here has grown some new support. So I'll have an announcement on that later, once I get more information on that. But I think it's all good though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one for me, 420 Bound. Were you able to talk to,
No, actually, I need, do you have their contact information? I just don't want to knock on the lady's door.
I sent it to you.
Oh, did you? I didn't get it.
Yeah, I sent it.
Okay, if you send it again, because my inspector had actually talked to her when the vegetation was taken out,
Right.
but that was 2 months ago.
Got it.
We just didn't want to knock on her door.
Just unblock them.
Maybe that's funny.
I will resend it.
Okay, if you could, yeah. 'cause I
Because
was-
Rob, I think you sent it to me and I sent it to him, so maybe just directly send it to him.
I thought you guys were both on it, but I got it.
Yeah, it was just me and you on that email.
With her phone number and everything?
Yeah, but I
Oh, I'm
forwarded
sorry.
it to Greg, so it maybe got lost.
Doing it now.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor, I only have 2 items for closed
Yes.
session, so I don't have anything for open.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Anybody else?
Good night, everybody.
Okay.
Before you
good night,
go,
Greg.
well, this is
You have
just,
something?
we got this thing from Jennifer on the subdivision draftees. Just review those on, and get back to me. This is on that, what do you call property, where we exchanged ocean land. for-
Oh, on up on the west side, yeah, okay. Did
Just
you send
review
it?
that, and then I'll review it. and
You
we'll
sent
send
those to me?
it. She sent them to you, not
I
me,
didn't
Jennifer
get them.
Start
Krimko.
pissing at them.
What, do you actually get email?
No, I haven't gotten any
Sure,
emails
G.
from her.
Blash,
Hand it
What
down.
day did she send it on?
July 5th.
Oh,
Check the end July 5th. If you don't have it, call me tomorrow. and I'll send it.
I will look, because I haven't got anything from her.
I think you got Rob's, I think you got hers.
Kind of branded.
That blog's working pretty good.
I think that block was
We
working.
have a meeting with them every week.
Filter.
Yes,
We have
yes.
one
Take some people off block.
Peg, and then we had a big meeting a few weeks ago. I'm passing something around here, Dave, that I got, I've been meeting with the Historical Museum, Peg's desires of rebranding that whole area. Instead of the Historical Museum, the Ocean Township Cultural Center, which I'm 100% behind because I love the history of the town and all that. So there's some renderings there.
And this is coming from them, right?
Yeah, and everything's there, it's in place, it's the
Okay.
cow barn, it's this, it's the stew style farm area, and all the components that go with it. It's just maybe bring more people in if it was branded differently.
Okay.
All right, so that's the depiction of what they're doing. It was actually in the Historical Museum letter sent out. It was probably on the front. Along with that, though, they need a proper sign, here, pass that one down, that would be able to be displayed prominently where you can see it,
Yeah,
right? And also
Yeah,
bringing
I think
people
it's a great
in.
idea.
yep.
The only thing with the sign is these costs of the signs now are through the roof because they want a nice architectural look to it. They want the brick features, they want all this stuff. So there's a couple projects they're working on. One is, I'm working with some private donors for the tower.
Yeah.
We're trying to do something with that. That's asunder from this, but this here project itself, as you can see, is the cost there, just got various estimates. It's about a $40,000 fit out altogether. So there's two hurdles here. One is they don't have 40,000. So we'll see if there's something the town can get behind, maybe in next year's budget or whatever, put something in for them. I think it's a worthwhile cause, something we really should budget for and get behind. Two, the bigger hurdle than the 40,000 is gonna, did you see it, John?
Yeah.
Okay, is gonna be the placement of the sign, Dave. Evidently, there's a greater setback there for some reason, like 50 foot, which is not gonna work for them. They really need it to be out on Main Street there, you know, right out on Deal Road. Not, you know, they could do their 20 and 15, whatever is reasonable. The thought was maybe if we work with OEM, fire, police, or even state or county OEM to broadcast their messages.
That's how they.
It's worthy of having it move closer to curb line
Yeah.
and more prominent.
Yeah, I
And
think
they'd
we
be
do
all
that.
for messaging like that. I mean, typically they were gonna use it
I
for,
think you just gotta watch the sight lines when the cars are coming out.
yeah, you don't want it to
So
be
you
a,
don't block.
right, an
Yeah.
attractive news or distract them, but they
Trying.
did wanna shut the sign down at 10 at night, only because they don't wanna, the neighbors on Deal Road that live there, they just wanted it open during operation hours, but they'd be very willing to, consider that option of putting the messaging on there, so we can get the setback reduced and more of an emergency kind of,
And there's probably, when we did it for the schools, they got grants from the state because of, to your point, the OEM grants. So they kicked in
Yeah.
the
so maybe
funding.
we can get a little help there to soften the blow, but I told them, I talked to her, I said, you know, listen, I can't guarantee we're gonna help you, but I don't see why we wouldn't want to do this project. The tower, like I said, we're gonna do a private fundraising event for that.
Tower dinner.
Well, yeah, you know, big tower dinner would be good, but I'm working with a couple of private people, have some good ideas that they do in other communities, where they do kind of like a phone-a-thon and this and that, and let's get to this amount, and we'll get a matching donor. So, behind the scenes, somebody's working on matching donor, let me see how that works.
Okay.
Because if that works out, then we're in good shape for them.
And don't forget, we've got 50,000 earmarked in the capital bond ordinance for the water tower.
Good.
So that, this
Okay.
way, whatever you're doing, maybe you can shift.
Transfer to
towards
this, to the
Yeah.
sign. Okay,
Mhm.
excellent.
Yep,
Does Paul know that?
not yet.
Okay,
I'm waiting for it tonight to be official before I call him.
excellent. I want to be on a speaker.
But if you wanna tell him, you tell him.
Oh, well, we're
Yeah,
just
I-
saying, let's get it,
Yeah.
he can tune in
Let's call him
tonight.
and call him after the meeting.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah,
great.
because you're adopting tonight, granted that it's.
Well, we'll make an announcement after we adopt it, and I just tell them, just tune in to the meeting.
There you go.
You can see that we all got
We're
behind
being
them.
taped now, so everybody knows.
All right, they don't watch this portion. But we can tell that we all got behind them.
I love
and
that.
support
Oh, yeah,
that-
yeah, yeah.
that
I know we
idea.
came to do the presentation, I told him we would put it in.
I'll say the one thing that they really liked is that they're very proud of, you can, in as much as a lot of trees came down on Deal 35, you can see the tower from
Ah.
35.
Didn't even think about it.
Shouldn't see it before.
No, they're enthralled.
Yeah.
Wow.
What is that
Good
thing?
look at it. I mean, it is, it's striking, it's a striking image.
Gotta light it
Can you
up.
put like a big elevator
Yes,
in there?
we're talking about
Make it
lighting the
like the
cap.
Tower of
Yeah.
Terror,
Correct.
Universal
Yeah,
involved.
you gotta light the cap up.
Yeah, we're talking about lighting the cap now that you can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's another idea there, so we were talking last night.
Gonna turn it into a lighthouse.
Sort of, not without the,
Hence, what a
Obnoxious
lighthouse
lights.
does, it attracts attention, you know,
Hey.
so.
All right, so with that,
Planes land in.
we have
Hyde Park.
nothing else. We're going into closed door.
Yeah.
Yes, do you have anything, or are you
Unless
waiting
you,
till the
we had
public
a-
meeting?
Do you want to just recap our tree meeting real quick? We had a meeting yesterday, Johnny Knapp was there and I and Dave. We talked about the rollout of the tree ordinance, kind of smoothed things over. I think overall, I know there's some concerns brought up last meeting, but overall, we kind of smoothed those issues out and got to the bottom of Tracy looked at different ordinances across other towns, and everybody's different. Like, for example, in West Long Branch, you have to replace every tree you take down. You don't even have an option to pay into a shade tree fund like we have. And yes, it's a lot to pay into the shade tree fund, but would rather people plant trees on their property if they can. The cost is reflective of the actual cost of planting trees. It's other towns who haven't updated their ordinances are still kind of behind. That's why their costs are lower, but they're in the process of updating them now.
Some towns don't do anything for under an acre either
Yeah.
with
Who
property.
polices whether you plant your trees or not?
So they actually have a site map. You have to do it within 6 months. Mike is
Yeah.
in charge of doing that. So you put down on the map, and they're going to check in, within 6 months. If you haven't done it, then they'll send out a letter saying, you got to,
What happens if the tree dies? Then what?
we haven't gone that far yet.
Just asking.
But there are some things that I think that we discussed in there, and that there can be a little bit of give and take on both sides with.
Let me ask you this, my question also was, this, not just residential, this is for any project before planning board and zoning board also?
No, the planning board and zoning board have their own.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's the one I'd be more interested in enhancing, more than the residential guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who
so-
find a piece of land in his town,
Yeah.
and we're just being so onerous, I think, with the fees. I don't think the concept of one tree, I get it, that's fine.
Yeah, the fees, we don't want the fees. We want
But you're
people to
gonna
plant
have
them.
to encounter them, I'm
I
gonna
don't
tell
know
you
if it's on
why.
tonight.
Not every property is
No,
conducive
it's
to
not, that's
replanting.
not, no.
You have to
Oh,
understand that.
I know,
The
West
reason
Long
we're
Branch
taking
makes
them
you
down-
replant them.
Well,
If you
West
take
Long
it down
Branch,
and
it's just 3 big farms all put together, it's not Ocean Township. Understand, we're a township, and they're not. And no disrespect, it's a beautiful little community, but it was definitely laid out differently. They definitely don't have the dynamic structure, infrastructure that we have. And it is a different town, so they can probably cope with that better. A small town, boroughs, they can do that. Big township is gonna have these problems. I'm telling you, I can ride around this town, tell you 50% of these right off the top are not gonna be able to replant without choking out their lawn or anything else. And, you're sacrificing one thing
Sounds
for
like
the
it.
other, I just think that whole replanting it's a great idea if you can do it, but not everybody's gonna do it.
Right, and that's
And
why.
that's why they're taking them down, they want sunshine.
That's why
Maybe they
we'll-
want a little sunlight in their yard.
Yeah, of course, that's why we'll replant them, elsewhere
Where?
in town.
We got $500,000 plus money in that account, and no one says, although I did get a request from Cotswold, and I think we should probably, nobody's else asked, let's take them up on it. They would like to enhance and I'm all for it.
Well, they came up with a priority list of where to plant. The next step is to plant them in the fall and then in the spring, the
You
shade
have,
tree.
you have a plan?
Yeah, so we were working, we had a meeting, I
Yeah,
don't
we
even
did have
remember
a
who was on the
meeting.
meeting.
Couple-
We identified a whole list of priority locations throughout the town, mostly public land, and then going down through tiers through public, and I have a whole rant on that, or I'm sorry, private, but yeah, there's a whole list of areas in town that we've identified that, one, could sustain trees, and two, because we don't have a water truck, that we would be able to make sure that they're watered and maintained and grown, because it's not just finding a place to plant a
We had
tree.
that problem at JPP when we did those specimens. You actually have a water truck come
Yeah,
down.
Yeah.
that was the first
Yeah.
thing I met.
So,
I said, we
it
have
limits,
no.
based on the infrastructure, it limits where you can plant trees, but there's still a number of places in town that are on public property that we could do that. So, that list is, so I don't even know where that list is.
I have
I didn't
it.
want to put you on the spot, but when can that list be delivered?
Do you
I
wanna-
can send it around.
Yeah.
I think it's in someone's
if
inbox,
it's-
it's not mine.
Maybe we can bring it to the
I'm
next
gonna
meeting.
use Greg's excuse.
If
I
it's
didn't
done,
get it.
send it to all the council members.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Love
That's
to
fine.
see that.
There was one piece of that meeting I thought was interesting. At one point, there was a formula based upon the size of the property, which was based on.
It was density per
Right, but,
acre.
right, so I think at one point it was 8 per acre, but then somebody stated that it was too difficult for them to figure out, which I mean, look, if you have a conforming lot, 100 by 100, or if you're in different area where it's 150 by 150, it's not that difficult to come up with an arbitrary number for the amount of trees that you should or should not have on the property as a minimum. So I'm for a formula, because I think that the town is so different with the different areas that you have within the township, that I think that we need to look at that so that it's, just a little more fair across the board.
Are you saying wayside, I'm just asking, I don't know.
Well, you
Are
talk
saying
about-
Wayside's formula might be different than Oak Cliff?
It,
might
it
be
would
different?
totally be different, because like, my lot's bigger than Chris's lot, but, so I should have more trees on it.
Well, here's the thing, we're
But
cutting
I
the
shouldn't be
6 zones,
inundated with
basically,
trees.
R1 through R6.
Inundated with trees.
You follow me?
They what?
We're cut into 6 residential zones.
Right.
R1 through R6. R1 being 1 home per acre, R6 being 6 homes per acre. We're in the 4 or 5 area. Well, I'm in the 4, you might be 5, I'm not
I
sure.
think I am, actually.
So just to give you an idea, maybe it can be broken up into zones. But I think, I mean, the one area I think really needs enhancing more than anything, and I've always said this, is on the commercial portion of this ordinance. That's where the folks coming in indiscriminate, then they get a break, they get a bulk rate. They can forget that. Why are they getting a bulk rate?
I thought,
So
didn't
wait,
we stop
can-
that?
No, so can I want to address that, because the reason that we started with the residential, well, the environmental commission was because the size of the trees was out of whack, right? For the residential, it was a 9-inch tree, which is a very large tree, and the commercial was 6,
Right.
right? So we wanted to bring that in line, and because our ordinance had almost 0 enforcement capacity, right? It was 4 trees a year, no permits required. Who's checking? Who knows?
Well,
No
who's
one
gonna
knows.
check now?
Right. Well,
it's a
now
much,
now
now
they're
it's,
gonna check.
now it's
they
a
gotta get
big,
the
now
permits.
it's pretty much,
But to the, for the commercial, absolutely, that has to be the next place that we look, because, and I'll go back and I'm gonna put on my planning board member hat for a second here. The biggest frustration that myself and a lot of the other planning board members, and I think, Rob, you were still on at the time, was we would get these tree experts come in and be like, yes, 3/4 of the tree on this lot are dead or dying, so we don't have to pay for them. And we had no one on town staff to be able to go and say, no, that's not true. And on the project that gets a lot of discussion in town, we asked our planner to do that, and he said, I'm not really able to do that, you have to listen to the applicant. So,
That's why
now
the
that we
ordinance needs
fixed
to be
that-
reworded, so.
Right.
You can say, hey, here's a minimum per acre that you're gonna have to contribute, and like, whatever.
and
I
we'll
think-
also be able to verify whether or not the health of the trees is what they are being, because someone could go out and say, yes, that tree looks like it's dying. We're now gonna have someone who's on town staff to be able to say, oh yeah, no, that tree is legitimately dead, or that tree is legitimately dying, which is not, I hate to say it, but not all of the tree experts who've made representations to the town over the last few years have been totally truthful.
Well, here's the thing.
Well, let's say
Marty
not
and I
that,
used to
let's
see
say
it-
totally accurate.
Marty
Totally
and I
accurate,
would
yes.
see with
opposed to
traffic
truth.
engineers, when they're
good work.
representing the
They
applicant,
are under oath.
all the project needs a little pinstripe in here and it'll be fine. When they're representing the township, you gotta do this, traffic control, circle, so it's very subjective, and we get that part. I just think, after reviewing all the fees here, you can really whack somebody hard, and I know, Margie, well, that's the point, the term. To a limit, I mean, these are private homeowners, we live in America, live in a different country than wanting to just say what you can and can't do unequivocally on your property.
Yeah.
To me, that's out of bounds, and not only that, Ocean Grove has historical, all kinds of restrictions, and people know that before they buy there. Had they known what these restrictions are with trees, eventually, when the word gets out, if you really enforce it, you're gonna see property values come down quite a bit. Because, well, I'm not gonna buy there because I can't do what I wanna do. I want a pool, and I want this, and I want these things. I'll have to, I'm telling you folks, you're going down the road to perdition almost if you stick with those fees.
But the same
They've
with
gotta
the
be
pool,
modified.
you still have all the ordinances with the pool. You have to have a certain distance, you have to have a certain slope, you have to have, so I mean.
Right, but if you tack on another 25 or 30 grand in some tree removal, I mean, it gets costly.
I mean, we live in the same America as West Long Branch, and they make them replace them. I'm just
Tinton
saying,
Falls
we-
has,
we-
Tinton
We live in the
Falls
same
has
one
no
as-
restrictions
As
under an
Ocean
acre.
Grove, we're
Yeah.
different
I'm
towns.
just
I'm
saying.
for
You
a
gotta know
formula.
your town. This is
But
Like-
let me ask this, did I
different
understand you
makeup.
correctly, and maybe I didn't, that those fees are based on the actual the cost of
Yeah,
the tree?
so that was one of the things with the fees. Our fees are probably the highest, or close to the highest, right now, because we went back and we looked at what does it actually cost for Ocean Township. If someone says, I can't plant a tree on my property, or I don't want to plant a tree on my property, what is it gonna cost the town to purchase, plant, and then maintain that tree? And those are true costs. Our costs were wildly out of whack, so someone was looking at those numbers and saying, yeah, I'm not gonna replant a tree, why? I'm just gonna pay a fraction of the cost and be done with the
I
whole
get
thing.
that, the
Right.
350 was.
Right,
It's too
so
low.
we brought it in
I'm
line.
with you.
So as these other towns look and go through their fee calculations, you're gonna see those costs come in line with ours, because that's what it costs to plant a tree right now, right? Otherwise, the town is losing money and we can't plant the trees, other than we didn't have a plan to plant the trees, which is, that's a shade tree fund, and I'm not on shade tree, I don't wanna speak for them, but, that's the reality. It's not cheap, and the cost is, everyone knows the costs have gone up a
So
lot,
what size tree are you talking about that costs that much? Are you talking if they take a 36-inch diameter tree to replace it, is it gonna cost that
Well,
much?
you can't replace 36.
Right.
Yeah, so by the time.
Aren't they all listed?
I think
Yeah.
they mentioned, like, when you go to the store and buy a 2.5 caliper tree, it's $250, is
It
that?
depends on the tree, but yeah, let's ballpark that.
$250, and then to plant it, and,
Right.
so it basically landscaping company would charge you 2 to 3 times the amount of the tree.
Yeah,
So
and-
But then if you take down that
And then
tree,
water.
it's 4 for 1. That's where that, if I'm looking at it correct, right?
If you take a big 40-incher, you gotta replant 5.
Right.
So, and one of the other things that, and we discussed it yesterday at our meeting though, right, is also a lot of the impetus behind the tree ordinance is dealing with stormwater, right? And the more trees you cut down, the more flooding there is. There's also been kicking around, and I know that I presented to the council a couple of years ago, and I know that David's been talking about it, the enhanced stormwater ordinance, right? That changes the triggers for when you require stormwater management, which would be lower and less requirement than if you did a major development. It would have a lower trigger, require lower mitigation, but that would address a lot of the same issues. So if someone, to your point, someone wants to put a pool in their yard. I put a pool in my yard, I think we had 600 square feet of disturbance, right? This would trigger that lower threshold, which means I would have to do stormwater management. So if I had to take out trees to put that pool in, it's not great, but it would be mitigated because we'd be requiring other stormwater
But then they had to
mitigation.
pay a utility fee or a tax on that.
Separate. That's
Stormwater.
a
A
separate
separate
one.
thing.
Stormwater utility is a different one. Enhanced stormwater is, it's a sustainable
Well,
Jersey
the
one.
other thing, Ed, yes, the footprint for a pool could be such, but then the canopies around it are inhibiting the pool from getting warm, and I think that's what people want. They want the pool to be in the shade, I mean, you can you can clear out enough land, let's say in John's property, to put a pool in, but it wouldn't be usable, because he would have nothing but shade trees around him covering that pool. He'd
Lot
never-
cheaper to
With
put
leaves
heater
falling
in than
into
it
the
is to
pool.
cut the trees
But he'd
down.
never see sun, it'd be kind of weird.
Exactly.
Right.
You
Anyway.
want to be in a shaded area
Look,
of your pool?
Do you?
If it's
Again,
hot.
we're gonna
If it's
discuss
hot.
more, I think. You have an ordinance in
Massive
place
trees
now.
around.
Yeah, I've been up there.
It's pretty.
But
I
I
think
want to
if
go
we-
back to John's point, right? We started, when we originally started all of these conversations 2.5 years ago, we started with the formula idea and were dissuaded from it.
Why, who dissuaded us from?
Complicated.
It's
Somebody said it was too complicated.
It's complicated,
Someone
and
said
I
it was
don't
too-
want to, let's just say it was complicated. But,
For one person it was.
uh,
I think we can figure out a
I
formula
think we can
based
really
on.
say that this entire issue is complicated.
yes, it
There's a lot of
absolutely
different
is.
aspects to
The
it.
mayor brings
I-
up a good
Lot of
point.
moving
Let's look
parts,
at the different zones that we have within the township and go based off of that.
Sure,
That
yeah.
makes sense.
I
think
have
the
no
zone
problem with
based
that.
one
Way to
would
do it.
make sense, because, yeah, and that's, like, again, that's where we started. The density per acre is easily transferable to, by the R1 through 6.
6.
'Cause-
And then you have the outliers.
Yeah,
That's
sure,
a
you're
whole
always
different-
gonna have a non-conforming lot.
There's
and-
13
And like Margie
properties
says-
over an acre, okay, we'll
What is
deal
it?
with that.
Lorax cement?
Lorax?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
The Lorax provision in a non-conforming lot.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So,
It's not
I
big
mean,
enough.
again, I think there's, some of the concerns that I've heard raised by residents and by the folks, the tree companies in town, I don't actually think there's a lot of validity behind them. I think there's misunderstanding, and I think there's fear. I think some of the issues that we've been discussing, that we discussed yesterday, that John brought up, that Chris, that you're bringing up, I think that there are some room to look a little closer. And if we can do that, and we don't have to, and we can look at a formula, I think we can make this just a little bit better and a little bit more flexible without losing what we're trying to do in preserving the canopy and producing flooding. So, yeah.
Yeah, something needs to be done, correct. It's gotta be reasonable. We not only represent people who enjoy trees, we represent the entire township. And that's our job, you know. Joe Play told me, you gotta be able to say no to your friends and yes to your enemies in some cases.
And less flooding.
That is. Anyway, we're gonna get into closed.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if it should be an open or closed, so.
Make it enclosed.
Yeah, if you don't know,
Why not?
when in doubt.
Yes.
I don't know what the question is, but
I
So the
agree.
administrative-
I'm just thinking the piece is good.
No, yeah, that's fine. The administrative side of this,
Mhm.
open or closed session?
Depends on what you're asking.
Administrative side of the.
Oh, what, the
tree.
ordinance?
Yeah.
No, we're discussing the ordinance.
So improvements, software,
Oh,
tracking,
that's-
permits,
Oh,
placards,
it's the software, yes.
movement on it. Any updates, any movement? Are we, that would,
Jan,
Okay.
we gotta go back out to,
That
bid.
could be closed.
got it.
Yeah.
That's good. He's talking about-
Okay, that's fine.
Ed, thank you,
Thank you.
always good, man.
Ed, you are by far the best dressed guy in this room.
Listen, I didn't have a chance.
No
Less
joke.
stressed.
Go hang out by that pool,
I
Ed.
think you're second. I like the Margie.
We're at
Doctor
section
outfit
eight
for
of
any
the
occasion.
public meeting.
That's it.
That's what I like.
The Dr. Donlin,
From a meeting in certain circumstances.
dressed for
Whereas
success.
the public bodies are opinion of circumstances.
I do have my scrubs everywhere.
Therefore, be
if I
resolved,
can.
Township of Ocean, Monmouth County, the public shall be excluded from discussions of action upon hearing after specified subject matter and general nature of subject matter, litigation, personnel litigation. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome. We're going to call the meeting of July 14th, 2022 to order. Jessica, have the roll call, please.
Mayor Siciliano?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani?
Here.
Councilmember Chera?
Here.
Donlin? Here. Fisher?
Here.
Everybody please rise for a pledge of allegiance, and then please remain standing for a moment of silent prayer thereafter. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. The notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press Coaster, posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 9th, 2021. There are two fire exits, one to my left, which will take you meandering down the hall and out to the parking lot, and one to my right, which will take you out to the front parking lot. If you have a cell phone, we ask that you please turn it off. All meetings are taped and archived, and your phone will interfere, the ambient noise will interfere with our tape and recorder. And if you have to make a call, we kindly ask that you go out into the hallway, even outside, so we can't hear you, and conclude your call and come on back in and join us. Okay. Before we get started, I'm going to ask the council members if they have any reports for us. John, you have anything?
No report. I just want to give a big shout out to Jen Nordstrom and Mike Patrico for a fantastic job on July 1st when we had Kenny Pickett Day. They did an absolutely great job organizing this event for the township. It was really well attended. And later that evening, I have to say, I think we had one of the best fireworks show in this area. They were phenomenal on July 1st. So thank you to everybody involved with that.
Great. Agreed. Point?
No report tonight.
Dave?
Yes, I want to remind everybody that it is that time of year, about halfway through our summertime, and I do want to discuss safe driving. I want everybody to understand that our roads are congested. We need to be aware of this. Please yield to the pedestrians in the crosswalks. Safety is the most important thing. So no matter how angry you get because you can't get from point A to point B, we still got to make sure that everybody's safe out there. The other thing I do want to bring up, there's a lot of kids using these electric bikes now, these electric scooters. They're quick. They're not like traditional bicycles. They get in your blind spot. Next thing you know, somebody's upon you. So be very careful. So just be careful out there. It's summertime. We'll get through this, but just want everybody to be safe.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Rob?
Two things. One, the Chamber of Commerce is having our annual golf outing. It is September the 12th. The gentleman to my left, 2 down, to your right is the chairperson, so if he wants to add anything to this, by all means, but there are a number of sponsorship opportunities available. We have 72 spots available to play golf, so if anybody's interested, you can go to the Chamber's website, gotcc.org. Also, over the number of years, we've had a number of requests to put a dog park in town. We have tried to find a number of places for it. We've looked. A lot of people didn't want it in their backyard. But after talking to a couple of people and making a couple of suggestions, the mayor, myself, Dave, the manager, and Mike Patrica met with Commissioner Ross LaCitra and the Parks Administrator, and a possibility of putting something at Welts Park is on the roadmap. I saw Commissioner last night. He said unless there's oil underneath there when they start drilling, it's more than likely that it'll happen. But it's only in the infant stages. There's a lot of planning to go on, but it's a possibility that it could happen. So,
Great. Thanks, Rob. Dave?
No report, Mayor, thank you.
Marty?
Well, since he mentioned the golf outing, the Chamber of Commerce does have the golf outing. The Chamber supports a lot of different things in town, supports businesses, and it also supports various kids with scholarships and many other things, giving to other organizations. So if you're a golfer, golf, September 12th. If you're not a golfer and you have a business, provide a sponsorship. We'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, good stuff. Okay, so the purpose of the public portion of this meeting is not to solely ask questions, understand resolutions that appear on an agenda, but not an occasion for a public hearing on an ordinance. All questions not related to an item on the agenda should be asked during the public comment portions at the end of the meeting. So in other words, other than what's on the resolutions, you'll have a chance at the end of the meeting to discuss ordinance or any other questions, anything germane to Ocean Township business. So at this time, if anybody has anything as to what's on the resolutions or vouchers, now would be the time to come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Okay. Seeing and hearing no one. Someone please offer the minutes of April 14th and April 28th.
I'll offer the minutes.
Second?
second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes.
Nepleton?
Yes.
Okay, we have resolutions 22-133 and 22-144. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Napletani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. For vouchers, we have the amount of $7,978,575.58. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second.
Achara?
I'm going to abstain. I didn't get a chance to look at them. I apologize.
Okay.
In 2 weeks. They weren't done that. They weren't done that. My bad. Just kidding, Rob. Go ahead.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Napletani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. For individual action, we have Resolution 22-136, authorize the confirmation of assessments of curbs, sidewalks, driveways, aprons along various roadways within the township in conjunction with Ordinance 2339. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Napletani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. 22-137, awarding a professional service contract with Leon Slovakian Inc. for engineering services associated with the 2022 roadway improvement program at a cost not to exceed $360,000. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Napletani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. 22-138, authorizing and directing the Township of Ocean Planning Board to conduct a preliminary investigation to determine whether certain property located at Block 101.02, Lot 33.01, Ocean Glades, property we own back off of Cindy Lane, constitutes an area in need of redevelopment. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Napletani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. 22-139, approve a Chapter 159 resolution to amend the 2022 municipal budget by inserting items of revenue and appropriations in accordance with NJSA 40A:4-87. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Napletani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. 22-140, authorize the cancellation of taxes for 2019 through 2021 and refunding or crediting the tax overpayments resulting from New Jersey State Court and Monmouth County Tax Board judgments to the taxpayer. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Clock. Second.
No. Second.
Please.
I can do it.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes, 22-141, authorize the purchase of the following trucks under the Sourcewell Cooperative Contract of Jersey for use by the Public Works Department. A, side loader sanitation truck for $407,141.28, and B, a rear loader sanitation truck for the amount of $355,840.88. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes, 22-142, approve the extension of the installment payment plan for those property owners who have not remitted their installment for the special assessment as confirmed May 13th, 2021. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes, and 22-143, authorize a contract with Reported to provide the third-party anonymous and confidential services at a cost not to exceed $4,000 per year. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. Tonight, for adoption, we have two ordinances. First ordinance is 2391. Jesse, would you read the title, please?
An ordinance authorizing the private sale of non-conforming real property known as Block 25, Lot 122.
Great. Someone please open a public hearing on ordinance 2391.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 2391.
Second.
I second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. Anybody wishing to be heard on 2391, now's the time to step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. Please be mindful we have the 5-minute speaking rule in place.
Why do you only tell me that? I
I'm telling
notice
everybody because you're the first.
every
you're
time
the
I
first
come up,
speaker.
you say that.
You're
But
the
I've
first
watched
speaker.
meetings and you haven't done that.
No, you're
I
not
think
the-
I think it's prejudice. You don't do it to the men.
I do it to anybody.
Okay.
You're not
Let's
as
not
low
start
placed as
fighting,
anybody.
okay? Let's not
We're
start
not
off.
fighting 4 minutes and 30
Can you just
seconds.
Can you just explain what property that is and go into some detail what you're expecting to do?
Yeah, Jesse has it right there.
It's a small piece of property
It's a piece we own. I think this is the Sand Hills one.
So
on Highwood Road.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah, so the town owns many of these little undersized lots throughout the town, and sometimes they border somebody's property. And it might be useful for them in certain instances for them to buy the property, and they'll be able to do something to the property that would normally be prohibitive because there'd be a restriction, or they already have a non-conforming lot themselves. So sometimes they'll approach us and see if we're interested in selling. That way they can refurbish their porch or deck without having to go for a variance. And a lot of times it makes sense. So when that happens, we offer it to all adjoining neighbors first, and if not, then we'll work out an agreement with the neighboring property. This one's on Highwood Road in Oakhurst, and that such conditions exist. Okay. It's not a conforming lot. It's a small piece of property. It's 6,200 square feet, where 10,000 square feet are required to build. And the neighbor would like to buy it, so they can put a deck on their house without going to the zoning board.
Oh, they
They'll
just
have
want
a
to put. They're
conforming
just
lot.
adding a deck.
I don't know. They don't want to. They want to have a conforming lot, and this helps them.
To build larger than what they'd be able to build?
No, to build what's conforming for that area. It's an R4 zone.
And what does that mean? What's an R4?
10,000 square feet, 27% coverage. Yeah, usual.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else wishing to be heard? No. Okay. Seeing and hearing no one, someone please close the public hearing on ordinance 2391.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2391.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes. Action please on 2391.
I'd like to move to adopt ordinance 2391 and publish according to law.
Second.
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Sorry. Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliano?
Yes, that ordinance has been moved. Second is ordinance 2392 for introduction. Jesse, would you read the title, please? Adoption, sorry.
A bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and acquisition of various capital equipment, appropriating $1,765,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,637,550 in bonds and notes to finance a portion thereof.
Great. This is our annual bond ordinance for capital improvements, as it says, various buildings, roads, things like that. Someone please open the public hearing on ordinance 2392.
I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing on ordinance 2392.
Second?
I'll second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliana?
Yes. Anybody wishing to be heard on 2392, please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Just come up with a lot of little short questions. Is the public able to see what those line items are that
Yeah.
make up that
It's on
total?
the- It's on the-
It's in the ordinance.
the
It's in there.
ordinance. In that folder, there's a copy of the ordinance. Yeah.
So they're all line items.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well, anyone else? Seeing and hearing no one, so I'm gonna make a motion to close the public hearing on 2392.
I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2392.
Second?
I'll second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliana?
Yes. Action please on ordinance 2392.
I'd like to move to adopt ordinance 2392 and publish according to law.
Second?
I'll second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliana?
Yes, that ordinance has been moved. For introduction tonight, we have three ordinances. The first one, 2393. Jesse, would you read the title, please?
A bond ordinance providing for various road improvements appropriating $2,100,000, therefore authorizing the issuance of $1,703,000 of bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof.
Great. Someone please introduce ordinance 2393.
I'd like to move to introduce ordinance 2393.
Second?
I'll second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliana?
Yes, and that'll have its public hearing at the August 4th meeting. Okay, second is 2394. Just read the title.
An ordinance amending and supplementing ordinance number 2343 entitled, An Ordinance Amending the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Ocean, 1965 relating to personnel policies, practices, and procedures.
Great. Someone please introduce ordinance 2394.
I'd like to move to introduce ordinance 2394.
Second?
I'll second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliana?
Yes, that too will have its public hearing on the August 4th meeting. And lastly, 2395.
These numbers.
Yeah. Would you read the title, please?
A bond ordinance providing for various improvements appropriating $650,000, therefore authorizing the issuance of $617,500 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the costs thereof and directing the special assessment of the costs thereof.
Great. Someone please introduce 2395.
I'd like to move to introduce ordinance 2395.
Second?
I'll second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliana?
Yes, and that ordinance also will have its public hearing on August 4th meeting. At this time, we welcome the public. If they have anything germane to Ocean Township business, come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, and please be mindful that we do have a 5-minute speaking rule, so everybody has a chance. That will be your time.
Good evening.
Good evening, Don.
Don Brockle, West 710 Laurel Avenue, West Allenhurst, New Jersey. I want to thank the council for voting on the tree ordinance a couple of months ago, right, or 2 months ago, and that was wonderful. But then I picked up the coaster on the 30th of, or next day, I guess, June 30th, and I was kind of shocked that it was going so bad. So, doing a little talking behind the scenes, I know you guys are working on it hard and trying to fix little things and maybe big things down the road. But I encourage you, trees are important. I think Mr. Napatani, I think there's one comment you made in here about the difference between Monmouth and Wayside, and I'll include West Allenhurst in that. I think you're right. Some day has 3 trees. Next week they can take down 3 trees. I don't think that's right. I love where I live. A tree's next to me, important. Keeps me cool in the summer. Protects my house. I feel better around a tree. It's bird life, animal life, and they're coming down all around me. A couple trees came down in my neighborhood today on Corley's Avenue. 717, I believe the address was. I don't know if the person had a permit, but maybe Dave, you can look into that. But 717 Corley's. Tough stuff, right? You're losing trees in your neighborhood. But the idea about looking at a percentage down the road, excellent. And if you guys can do that, that'd be not necessarily right away. Look, I know it takes time to do these things, but the intent, the overall intent's great. I thank you. I got another thing. In West Allenhurst specifically, cars are getting egged. I don't know if you guys know that or yet.
Egged?
Egged. And, you know, it's people with New York license plates. I think it's inappropriate. I know the police are in, but some of the residents are calling the wrong police department, so I think that's adding to some confusion. But if you could put the police on that, that'd be great. I'll keep, a lot of residents are keeping their eyes open, but it's been happening in the last couple of weeks. So I just want to
Good, well, thanks for the info.
What's that?
Thank you, we didn't know that.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Don. Anybody else wishing to be heard, come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Tricia Donovan, 161 Delaware Avenue. I'll be quick. I have a couple of things. Over at the park, I see that they have, I think it's a young woman with her family that put together a monarch butterfly. Okay, so I don't know if you saw this. I printed it up. I'll leave it. City, Monarch City, and this is there's only one other town so far on their website in New Jersey that has Monarch City. It costs $50 for a lifetime membership. It is has to be done by the municipality. And I thought that young woman, maybe she could become the Monarch ambassador for Ocean Township. So I'm gonna leave this here. I have a couple other things, and if you could look at that, you have to buy, I think it's 2 signs at $150. It's minimal, but she's done such a nice job. I think that would be a great thing to honor her with that. Second thing is, I saw this bug today. I had this weekend. I had no idea what it was. There were a bunch of them. It's a lantern. It's an immature lantern fly. I don't know if anybody knows what the immature looks like. It's a beautiful bug, but
Eats
maybe
plants, huh?
the coaster wants to print it or whatever, so people know what they're looking at to kill. The second thing that I want to ask for is, can you tell me what property code that you follow? Or can I get a copy of the property code, the property maintenance code? Yes? Okay.
Come in during the day.
Okay.
We'll give it to you. Code
I pulled
enforcement.
one up, but I don't think it's complete. Okay, and the last thing that I have, the reason why I'm here is the continuing speeding down our street. So I live on Delaware, and it's a cut through from Route 35 over to Monmouth Road. There's, if you come down Freehold and then go up, so it's kind of a valley where I live, and people gain speed coming down on both sides. The road work has decreased the speeding, which is great, but sooner or later, the road's gonna be fixed and it's going to be a problem again. There is a 3-way stop or a Garwood that tees into our street, and people turn that corner, I mean, on 2 wheels. We had the police put out a speed box, but then they put up the speed sign at the top that said what your speed is, so there wasn't a very accurate accounting. I just want to keep this conversation alive. I don't think there's anything you can do about it now because, as I said, the road work has definitely decreased, but since the 4th of July, there has been a lot of faster than 25 miles an hour going down the street. Okay, and oh, one other thing about the speeding. Have you made any decisions about the speed tables or speed humps?
Speed humps, yeah. Our engineer and public works are looking into the spots, the cost, and when and where they can do them, and all that stuff. So.
Okay, and I know that well, these are speed tables. These are in Jersey City, and they have cars on both sides. And if the police, ambulance, and fire can get through, I don't know why they wouldn't be able to do so here. And if you use removable ones, it's even
That's what we're looking at.
nicer.
Yeah.
So I'll just
Seasonal.
put this up here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tricia.
Thanks, Trish.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Yeah, just come on up if you have something, state your name and address for the record.
Teamwork, coming together.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, Stephen Gaudet, 2602 Appleby. I've been up here before talking about the same issue of traffic cutting through, and it took 12 weeks to get my car repaired after a hit and run in front of my house. As a community of gracious living, I would appreciate we can do whatever we can do so that I don't have to worry about coming out of my house and finding a car that's not functional. I know the speed bumps get expensive and they can be problematic. There must be there are other alternatives. I see the lights coming up, or the LED signs coming up around town. I'm sure they're not as effective as a calming, but they're at least an effort to go forward. And I do appreciate the effort that the police put in. They had the trailer up, they stopped a bunch of cars, but 6 weeks later, it's gone.
Yeah.
We do have to move forward and try to get this taken care of. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Anybody else? Yep. Ken?
I'm Ken Lutz, 1100 Brookside Avenue. And for the record, I'm a member of the Environmental Commission and the Shade Tree Commission. I listened to the meeting 2 weeks ago, listened to all the comments, and I'd just like to offer a rebuttal, at least to give you the other side. I mean, it started 10 years ago with Hurricane Sandy, and we talked about Sandy too much with all the trees that came down. But as a result, a lot of people after Sandy took trees down because they were afraid of trees falling on their houses. And since then, we've kept seeing trees coming down, some big developments in the Wayside area, deal in 35, of course. And one of the reasons is that we felt that our ordinance on trees wasn't really protecting our trees. So 3 years ago, we started to look at our ordinance and could we revise it? And meeting after meeting after meeting, we held with various people. Mr. Armstrong commented on a meeting that we had with him. I wanted to clarify things. He totally mischaracterized things. He said, I misrepresented things and I didn't take any input from anybody. I mean, we've had many, many meetings and we took input from everybody. We even came up with a totally new ordinance, and in talking with township officials, it just wouldn't fly. So we ended up taking our existing ordinance and just revising it. And that's what was passed. So I wanted to say that there's been some questions about the fees and the charges. I mean, first of all, they were meant to cover expenses. I mean, the ordinance requires the township to do a few extra things, and either all the taxpayers are going to have to pay for it, or the people who are trying to take down trees need to pay for it. And they're not meant to be punitive. I mean, $100 permit fee is there to cover inspections. People do not have to hire licensed tree experts. The township has them on staff, and that's what the fee will cover. We ask people to replace trees. We want them to replace trees on their own property. It wouldn't cost them any extra money in payment to the town, but if they choose not to, we're asking them to cover the cost of having the township replace the tree. That's where the amount of the fees came from, and they're not out of line with other towns. So it's not meant to be punitive at all. We also wanted to make sure that tree services in town understood the ordinance, so we asked them to register with town. And actually, to be frank, after listening to the comments of some of the tree services 2 weeks ago, I'm not sure they're really familiar with the ordinance. All seriousness aside, perhaps we need a written exam. Anyway, we had a meeting with township officials yesterday. I'm convinced that all the bugs are going to be worked out. I think it's going to go smoothly, and I think it's just time to give the ordinance a chance to get it working. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yep, we have a gentleman just walking up before you, Paul. Go ahead. Gene, got to come up to the mic, Gene.
Okay, let me get my glasses on. Before I start, I just want to apologize to Claire.
Gene, just identify yourself. We know who you
Gene
are.
Armstrong, 2500 Sunset Avenue. I wanted to apologize to Claire. I think I misspoke when I said that my customers were frustrated with her. They're actually frustrated with the piles, with the way the process is going. In that, I am telling them what you are telling me as to the fees, when in fact, you go to construction and it is not what you are telling us. It's $100 for the permit. It's $100 for every tree, dead or alive. This is what I'm told at construction. I was there. I talked to Michael. I told him, what is it? And he told me, $100. They said, do I need a certified tree expert? I said, if it's stone cold dead, he says, you're all right. If there's any question, he is a city guy. He does not know. He's going to want the certified tree expert letter from somebody. My problem is, I have friends that are certified tree experts, and nobody wants to do it. I mean, I had one customer say he did find somebody that would write a letter, and they wanted $500. That's said and done. I mean, like you say, when I moved to my house in '95, I'm the second owner. My house was built in '49. When my house was built, there was not a single tree on the lot. The guy got old, the backyard grew up, and I cleared it out. I planted trees. If I were to do that today, it would cost me a fortune if you would even let me do it. I mean, I'm a licensed, tree care operator. I have to take a lot of classes to keep my license. And one of the classes we had to do in residential neighborhoods is that trees have a useful life. It's not 100, it's not 200 years. If they plant a pine tree on the corner, 20 years, you're looking to probably take it out. I mean, I had one customer, they planted white pines as a screen. 20 years, what do? They're taking up the whole backyard. I think they quoted her, I'm not 100% sure on this. I think they told her they wanted like $20,000 for her to do this. I mean, that's the main thing. I mean, and the fees, I mean, I really don't understand the fees. I mean, and we talk about going into the shade tree fund, which they don't do anything with it. I mean, why are we, and everybody's like, oh, the money goes to the shade tree fund to plant trees. But not much gets done with that. I mean, I know that for a fact. I mean, bet somebody could tell me how much is in there now. There's a lot of money in there. And certainly, like, the diameter in a 10-foot pine, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, go to any other town, even very liberal towns. Most people are more concerned in trying to save heritage trees, what they call heritage trees, or historic trees. They're not trying to stop people from enjoying their yards and making improvements. The fees alone, I got this many people, they just stop. They get to that front office there and they stop. The problem with that is you're going to start seeing trees. People leave bad trees. I mean, I know some people, I'm going to call Brockle out over there. I told him many times to cut his tree down, and you can tell them what happened if you want, but it ended up falling on your car, as I recall. So, I mean, at some point, yeah, but, not taking trees down is not good. I mean, if you look at all the pictures on the wall here, and you see how many trees are there, even when my house was built in '49, I mean, most of these neighborhoods didn't have anything. Right. So, and if you have a 100 by 100 or 50 by 100 lot, do you really want a monster, silver maple in your yard? I mean, if it's 70 years old at this point, you're pushing your luck probably, and I don't know if anything's been changed, but yeah, I mean, the way it is right now, when I go to construction, they want $100 for the permit, $100 for each tree, regardless of dead or alive or whatever. And that's where we're at on that.
Right.
And
You're near the end, not to cut you off.
yeah, no, that's fine. I'm up.
But Gene, good
Yes.
stuff. We'll gonna answer some of those as
Yeah, I don't know if
Ken
you know
had
anything
mentioned
from the
that
meeting. From the,
there was
the
a
other day.
meeting yesterday because
Yeah.
we all mentioned stuff in the coast about trying to tweak this so it's more reasonable for everybody. And I don't want to go back and forth with you. No doubt, tree preservation is very important. We need to do something.
Right.
But how to do that, the dichotomy of balancing that.
Well, you need to be able to,
And
like
make
you
it
say,
reasonable. I think the zone thing makes the most sense. We have 6 residential zones, R1 through 6.
Right.
Maybe we'll come up with a count per zone.
Yeah.
Something we can work with.
I mean, people move into their house and they want to make it their own.
Right.
And to have restricted, I mean, even like that, the pine thing, I mean, they should be able to appeal it and hopefully be able to do something like that. Okay.
Thanks, Gene.
Diane Sermont, 192 Oakhurst Road. I just want to also thank you for passing the tree ordinance, and I was wondering what the status is of the permit in the window. Was that not part of the ordinance, that people were supposed to have a tree permit
Yeah, so
put in the window?
So when they get the permit and during the process of cutting down their trees, they
Right.
will have to display the permit in their window.
Okay, so in my neighborhood not that long ago, there was a case where there was no permit in the window, and the town said, and this was a month after the ordinance had been approved, that they hadn't received the permit.
They are now in, and going
Great.
forward there will be.
Okay.
Yep, it was just a time.
That's great. That's
Time
great.
lag in
That's
terms
great.
of getting things.
So
in.
I also want to encourage you to keep working on the ordinance and work out the tweaks. I think that this is also a great opportunity for educating citizens. I don't think all of our trees need to come down. I think Mr. Armstrong would agree with me when I say here that I have spent thousands and thousands of dollars that went into his pocket to maintain my oak trees. Trimming them, keeping them in good, healthy shape, keeping the dead branches so that they're not going to fall on my car or on the street. So instead of people just clear cutting their property, this might be an opportunity to educate people about how important it is for us to have these large trees. It's really what makes up the character of our town. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane.
Paulie's slow to move today. You have to be faster, Paul.
Yes.
Hi, Nancy Ehrlich, 1403 South Wanamassa Drive, Ocean. So I wanted to talk about the deer. What is the latest update on that program?
We're waiting for the fall when there's less tree coverage, so we can do a survey of how many deer we have in Ocean Township. And when we do that survey, we'll be able to submit the full application to New Jersey Wildlife for their approval.
Okay. And is the plan still to consider a sterilization program?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah, non-lethal method.
Okay. And is there any need at this point to get help, as we've offered from Animal Protection League, to
Not quite
till we
yet.
get
We
the-
might,
again?
it might need that later on. We'll just have to wait for the approval or disapproval of the plan first, and then that'll be the next step. So it won't be until maybe definitely after the fall, but probably closer to next year.
Okay. And I know I had suggested in the past, a lot of towns who have management programs, they get a deer task force group together. We talked about that. Is that something that can still be considered, that we can put some people to help you, to help with some research and so forth?
Definitely. Yep.
Okay. I know that's something we talked about a year ago, so I hope that we can help, move things along.
Yep.
So
Just waiting for the leaves to fall so we can count the deer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. Anybody else? Just state your name and address for the record.
Nisa Zonair, 2605 and 2702 Appleby Drive.
I just came to support what Steve was saying about the excessive speed, especially on Appleby. It's used as a cut-through continuously. Even mail trucks, I see them doing 45 miles an hour easily. I've personally had 2 vehicles crashed into as well. I don't park in front of my house, but with the circle being redeveloped potentially, there's new construction at the end of Logan, that the traffic is excessive through that part of town, and it is extremely fast. I actually called the town, brought the speed monitor out. It did help to some deterrent, but it wasn't effective, and it's right back to where it was. So, just implore you to consider looking into ways of maintaining the speed in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Okay, Paul, make your move.
Paul Merowitz, 14 Magnolia Court. Since the tree ordinance has been passed, how many actual tree permits have actually been issued?
We just talked about that in the
We happen to
workshop.
have the answer right here.
Isn't that amazing?
I'll telegraph it next time.
Looks to be about 10 or 12.
About 10 or 12.
There's some still under review, and then there's a couple that were denied.
Okay.
I think you said we had up to about 30 applications in, Dave?
Yeah.
Right now, Paul?
Okay. I guess it was 2 meetings ago I asked about the potholes in the town. And you had indicated that West Park was a county project and they were going to do the potholes.
Yes.
Based upon the signage and everything else that they have on West Park, it appears that they are only doing from the Route 18 exit towards Route 35. So that the road from the Route 18 exits to Hope isn't in their plans. And I was hoping that the township could talk to someone about that, since that's a very heavily traveled road by individuals going to Shafto Road and the dump. And when they hit those potholes, you can hear it quite
We'll
distinctly.
request them to do the pothole maintenance here. They have what they call phases when they do their roads. So phase 1, phase 2, this is phase 3 from the 18 to 35. Probably phase 4 is going to go west. But while they're there doing that, no reason they couldn't tend to those potholes that you're talking
couldn't
about.
find anything on the county website indicating what the road program was. Okay.
Yep.
In the billing that you approved tonight, there were 20 payments for tax appeals. And I was curious as to how many tax appeals, property tax appeals, did we receive for this calendar year between residential and commercial? And how successful have we been in terms of defending the property assessments that our outside firm came up with?
Yeah, we don't have that number on hand.
No.
That's something we'd have to get from our tax assessor department as to how many appeals came in, how many were defended, and how many we won, how many they won, etc. But
Arbus,
2022 isn't in yet, of course, because that's not due. But
to your
2021.
knowledge, have we lost any big commercial property assessments?
I'm sorry, say that again?
For any large commercial, like for example, one of the bills is for Seaview. Which property in Seaview, I don't know. The question is, was there a substantial reduction in their property assessment, or we don't know yet?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and frankly, I have Matthew Good from my office who handles the tax appeals, so I don't generally actually handle them directly.
Well, typically, I'll only speak to the big commercial ones because they appeal every year, naturally, and you would too if you were that property owner. So it's not so much that we lose or they win. There's always a compromise on those properties.
Well, then we ought to go high if we're going to compromise.
Maybe we
Why
did.
go low?
Maybe we did. I don't know.
But, you know, that could cost a significant redistribution of property taxes to the residences who have a tendency not to appeal because of the way the tax laws are written.
But that happens, like I said, the big property owners, and I don't want to mention them, you know who they are, every year by rote appeal. We can give them a really favorable tax assessment, they're appealing.
As I
And
said,
so we account for that into our.
let's go high
overall-
next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah, just want to make that at the end. Okay. Anybody else? Yep.
Evening.
From 604 Laurel Avenue.
They're right here.
Two issues. When we're
Thank
talking about the deer problem, we add the rabbits and chipmunks too. Because we help out some of the farmers in the backyard. One question I have is, why does Ocean Township have an ordinance where a start date for construction during the weekday is 7 o'clock? Well, other surrounding towns are at 8 o'clock. On the weekend, it's 8 o'clock, but during the week, it's 7. There's a lot of construction going on in town, and some of the building is right on top of each other, and it's a long process. I've, for one, gone through an 8-month process of 7 o'clock every morning, Monday through Friday, backhoes, beeping, idling for 3 hours, porta sand doors banging each time, each morning. And I don't think it's a quality of life issue that Ocean Township should have on their books. It should be at least 8 o'clock start like the rest of the towns in there. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Just for clarification, having checked this, I can't get on right now to verify it, but it should be 8 to 8. So
7 o'clock, Monday through Friday. That's what I called the town
what type of construction?
renovation.
For a house, you're saying?
House, yeah.
It's supposed to be 8 to 8.
No, it's been 7 o'clock. That's what the police said. That's what the building department said.
So road is definitely 7, because that I'm sure about. But
Pardon me?
Road construction
is
starts
7.
at 7.
This is a building.
I got you. I'm with you. I will check on that because I think it's 8.
Anybody else? There's more? Okay.
Ed DeFilia, 1020 Raymer Ave. I just have 2 quick points talking about the tree ordinance. I've talked a lot about trees here and recently. As to the size of the trees and this idea that it is out of line with other towns. Jackson Township is 6 inches. Bradley Beach is 5 inches. Freehold Township is 4 inches. Eatontown, our neighbor to the north, is 3 inches. And Interlaken, our neighbor to the east, is 2 inches. 6 inches. The ordinance is on their website, passed in 2019. It's right there. You can all go look at it if you have your smartphones. Interlaken, scroll on down, 2019, their ordinance. And the other issue is this idea that getting a letter for a dead or dying tree costs a lot of money. Yes, it does. That's why we have a tree expert on staff as part of this ordinance to provide that service to the residents so that we have someone on staff on the town who can talk about whether or not these trees are dead or dying. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Okay. Anybody else?
Maybe I have 90 seconds of my 5 minutes left.
We'll calculate. Rob has the clock.
I had to reset it. I can't keep track of
Okay.
everything.
Well, Diane Sermont, 192 Oakhurst Road. Not the tree ordinance. I was in here pre-COVID to ask you folks to look into putting in a crosswalk somewhere between the Animal Hospital and Park Boulevard on Monmouth Road.
Park Boulevard. Park Avenue.
Park Avenue on Monmouth Road. So I had given you all a little schematic showing you where all the nice little crosswalks were on every single block down by the golf course. And there's a really long stretch of Monmouth Road without any crosswalks. It's really treacherous to try to cross. I know it's a county road, but somehow those ones down by the golf course were all approved and put in. So I was hoping you folks could look into that.
We'll send it on
Thank
to
you.
them. Yep. Anybody else?
That's on our list.
No? Okay.
Jackie Wenzel, 610 Deal Road. I want to just say, regarding the speeding that people were talking about, it has definitely made an improvement having the speed sign on Deal Road. What I wanted to ask, though, sometimes during the day it's difficult to see it doesn't seem to light up as strong as it does in the evening. And again, I'd like to ask, can we look into what is the cost of getting something like Interlaken? Because that one's very clear in the day and in the evening. And like I said, it politely thanks you when you get to the right speed. But I just feel like it is working. I mean, I'm so appreciative. It has totally calmed things down. We don't seem to have it going the other way, but I guess because we're assuming people are already in town and they're not going as fast. But I do see people speed the other way as well if we could get budgeted for that. I was thinking maybe where we have the town sign, where it has gives messages, maybe occasionally it could put the speed or say slow down deer, because again we all know the deer are a problem, and they're a problem because they cross the street. They're not a problem with their beauty, but it is a problem when they cross the street. So anyway, I was just thinking maybe on the town announcement sign we could say slow down deer, because right as you start to approach the park is, that's where you really are going to see the most of them. Getting back to the trees, which a lot of people are here for, the rule is, what is it, 3? They can take down 3 a year?
3 in 3 years. It used to be 4 every 1 year. Now it's 3 every 3 years without having to replace them, without having to pay into the shade tree fund.
Okay. And coincidentally, today with the meeting that I knew there were going to be many in the audience about tree cutting, my neighbor was cutting down trees. So I called the township and they told me, I said, did he apply for an application, an approval? And they said yes, and he had applied for 2 trees. But it didn't seem like that. I mean, when he moved in, because he put in a pool, he took out, I don't know how many trees. So I'm just wondering, is it every 3 years they could eventually just clear the land, essentially?
Going forward, they could do that now if they wanted to pay into the shade tree fund too, or they could take down more than 3 trees. They just have to either replace them or pay into the shade tree fund.
Replace them other places.
Or on their property.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, if they're sick and dying. I think the general point is, though, we chose, many of us, to live in Ocean Township because of the shaded tree streets, the tree-lined park-like atmosphere, the gracious living. And as we've all discussed before, it's all changing. It's becoming more industrial, more commercially developed, and there are less and less trees. So when you move into a neighborhood that, I just don't understand why people would move into a tree-wooded country-like neighborhood to then change it. Like when people move into Ocean Grove, they know there are no bars, there's no taverns in Ocean Grove, and they know they have an historic preservation to live up to. They can't change and renovate their homes in that way. But the people love that, and that's why they move there. So I don't see, or I'd like to maybe suggest that if it's possible, to maybe just talk about amongst yourselves in meetings of what would be entailed of really, instead of saying the community of gracious living, something to say, where the shady tree community, or we believe in green, or because outside of Ocean Township, it is a global problem. And I saw it written somewhere and I posted it. I stole it from what I had read and posted it on Ocean Cares. But just stand in the sun and then stand under a shady tree. The temperature difference is so noticeable, and that's just one person in one tree. I mean, in the overall picture, it's a real problem. It's not just a neighborhood problem or a petty, we like trees, you don't like trees, and aesthetic. It's a real problem that we're having as a global thing, amongst other problems. The other thing I wanted to ask in terms of trees again, with replacement trees, I understand, sadly, Food Town's closing. We're all going to miss Food Town because just it has a nostalgic feel to it. But most of the developments, and many of them that are abandoned, have so much parking lot. I mean, even Wegmans, that is a wonderful store, and I shop there all the time as well. There's so much parking lot. Could we maybe shade from the highway, in a sense, create more of a buffer so we're not looking at so much industrial looking empty places, where it looks more park-like, as it did when I moved here in '97. It definitely looked more park-like, the community. I mean, is that something that we could do, minimize the parking lots, because they're never full, they're never out to the street?
Yeah, I mean, that would require a change in the ordinance. The parking ordinance is so many parking stalls per square footage. It's calculated that way. So they want to make sure that when folks go to a very busy center like Wegmans, and if you go there, it's hard to find a parking spot unless you're very far out.
Well, I mean, it's hard right near the store, but there's so much
No, it's hard to go
parking.
very far out at times also during peak shopping hours. So I mean, that's the requirement. They'd have to change the ordinance, Jackie, to answer your question. I don't know
Well,
if they'll
well,
do that.
Wegmans is an example of a successful business, but there are many along the highway that aren't and have
So what
crumbled
do you
to
tell them? I
parking
don't think you're
lots.
going to be successful. 5 spots for you. That's
No,
what you-
they're half empty now. I'm saying they're half empty now. So and parking lots are kind of crumbling. So I'm just saying it would beautify the township. It's an
I don't
aesthetic
disagree
thing.
with you, but it's private property. I don't know if we can plan on there, unless they would let us, and they'd have to do it themselves, and they're really not obligated to because.
Well, if we
the
have the
property's
shade
built.
tree funding and we have the money for an inventory of trees in the spirit of beautifying the community, it could be a recommendation. They may appreciate that.
Okay, we can offer that. You at your 5 minutes again? Rob's telling me you're at
I
your
know,
limit.
but
All good
Mr.
stuff.
Armstrong spoke
Was
longer
5
than
minutes.
5 minutes. He spoke longer than 5
No,
minutes.
He did. Jackie, he didn't. Seriously, he didn't. I got the timer right here. Trust me, he did.
So I have one more thing about the deer to ask.
So we're not gonna do time.
With the deer, I have called the police department on 2 occasions where I heard gunshots. And I said, I hear they're shooting. I hear it in my backyard. It's like more towards Dwight Street. And one time a woman answered and she goes, yeah, well, because I said, what are they doing there? Could they be, I hear gunshots. Could they be shooting deer? And she said, well, yeah, they're allowed to shoot deer in the golf course. And I said, well, I wasn't aware of that. And I would like to know that because I think, a lot of times kids run into, when I was a kid, like we'd run into parks sometimes at night or do different, like people might be walking their dog near the golf course. So I'd like to say, if this is true, that they're allowed to shoot deer in the golf course because it's private property, that we should be made aware of when those shootings are happening. We should know. Because otherwise you could, or your child could, go in there.
Yeah, there's no.
No, but
shot.
so where are the gunshots? There were
I don't know.
absolutely
There
gunshots.
might have been fireworks during 4th
No,
of
no,
July.
no. I know the difference.
Not that
I live in
I've
New York
never
City
lived here
sometimes, and I
63
know
years.
that
I've never
I know
heard-
what gunshots sound
Never
like.
heard a gunshot there yet. I've never heard that.
Well, you don't live there.
I don't.
I hear it in my backyard.
Okay, you're right. Next, anything else you have?
No,
All right,
but
you're at
it's
your time
serious.
limit.
No,
We're gonna
it's
look into it.
serious.
Thank you,
If they're
Jackie.
shooting there,
We'll look into it.
we should know about
We're
it.
gonna look into it because they're not allowed to.
Right. Well, the
Okay.
woman who answered in the police station, I'm sorry I didn't get her name.
All right.
She said, "Well, they're
This
allowed
guy.
to shoot in the golf course. It's private property." And then I called back, and the police officer said,
Thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
Appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
comments. Anybody else? No? Before we close, I just want to make one quick announcement. I think it's very good, something you guys should know about. So the Historical Museum for years been trying to save the tower and do some projects over there. Very constructive, great things. We love that tower. You can actually see it better now from 35, believe it or not. But we passed an ordinance tonight, 2392, and within that ordinance, there's an article here that we put in, a rehabilitation of the historical landmark known as the Stusau Farm Water Tower, with a total appropriation of an estimated $51,580. Estimated amount to be bonds and notes, therefore about $49,080. We're offering that to them. They were looking to raise $50,000. I just wanted to let them know I'm going to call Paul after that we did approve. We all agreed to do that for them. So I'm going to keep that. I think it's a historical landmark, and we do want to keep that and preserve it. So that's that. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's not happening because there is a lawsuit pending, and I asked you to drop the lawsuit and we would negotiate a settlement with them, and you refused. And that's exactly what happened. I told you, and you refused. No. No, it was while you had the appeal, and they said if she would drop her appeal because we want to get moving, we'll negotiate this with you, Mayor. And you wouldn't do it, and I told you we're going to lose this sale. Now, we lost it. Then we'll make a motion to adjourn since she's not being picked up on the mic anyway.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Achara?
Yes.
Donlin?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
Naplatani?
Yes.
Siciliana?
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you coming.
Hey, Paul, do me a favor. That's what happened.